Chapter 199. The three skeleton swordsmen surrounded Han Su. Attacking was secondary. Their main goal was to block off Han Su's position so that he could not escape. Bai Xiaowen had already scanned Han Su's attributes through his insight talent. He was a genuine level 4 elite tank-type profession, scorching defender. His vitality was as high as 28 points. With the additional armor from his equipment, his defense was definitely above 35 points. Therefore, Bai Xiaowen did not think of killing Han Su immediately. Instead, he chose to divide and surround him. Han Su charged a few times, but he could not break through the skeleton swordsman's defense. Instead, he was continuously slashed by the skeleton swordsman's iron swords, and his health points slowly decreased. Whoosh! A layer of soil spread out from the ground and quickly covered Han Su's body, turning into a hard rock armor. The skeleton swordsman's iron swords only caused small pieces of rock to fall off. However, Han Su's health points did not decrease anymore. This is Xiao Mingxing's skill, rock armor. His profession is Earth Shaman, a level 4 elite support-type profession. Feng Xiang hurriedly explained. Xian Hui, kill the support. Shui, attack Han Su. Bai Xiaowen gave the first order. He then shared Xiao Mingxing's data with the other 4 teammates. Xiao Mingxing, elite, race, humanoid/human, profession, Earth Shaman, level 4, attributes, strength 13, agility 12, vitality 14, spirit 26, profession skills, Earth strength, passive, Earth attribute skills are increased by 10%. Combat skills, rock armor, thorny entanglement, earthquake strike. The specific description of the combat skills will not be written, but the main character's insight talent will be able to see the description. Xian Hui pulled out a pair of daggers and rushed towards Xiao Mingxing in large strides. As a long-range shooter, Chen Guowei had already drawn his bow and shot arrows at Xiao Mingxing. Da-da-da. The opponent's shooter, Yan Jun, was holding his AK and spitting fire in an attempt to block Li Shui and Xian Hui. A long-range gun like an AK had low fixed damage, but its advantage was its high firing speed. Xiang Hui's body glowed faintly as he activated his equipment's additional speed boost skill. He only took 2 bullets and lost less than 10 HP, but he was already close to Xiao Mingxing. Xiao Mingxing didn't panic. Although he was a support class, his strength and dexterity were both over 10 points. His one-handed hammer and shield specialties were both level 3 and above. He wasn't afraid of Xian Hui at all. Clang! Xian Hui's 2 daggers slashed at the shield, and the 2 of them started fighting. Although Xian Hui's dexterity was high, he was unable to suppress Xiao Mingxing. It was unrealistic for him to kill Xiao Mingxing in a short time. Yan Jun turned around and hid behind a giant pillar. He then turned his AK to attack Xian Hui. Suddenly, the pressure on Xian Hui increased greatly. Very quickly, Yan Jun lost 1/3 of his HP. Xian Hui truly felt the strength of the school team's main force. Just the support was already quite difficult to deal with. After a few rounds of fighting, only one of his attacks was effective, which gave Xiao Mingxing a speed reduction effect. The other attacks were all blocked by Xiao Mingxing's shield. Suddenly, Xiao Mingxing smashed his warhammer at him. Xian Hui quickly dodged to the right, but he was shot 3 times by the AK, and his HP dropped by more than 10 points. Xiao Mingxing sneered. His attack was just a feint. It quickly turned into a horizontal sweep, sweeping towards Xian Hui's temple. If this attack hit, it would definitely hit a vital point, and most likely, it would also cause a temporary stun. Clang! The warhammer smashed into a circular iron shield. The power of this attack was blocked without any hesitation. Bai Xiaowen controlled the last skeleton swordsman to rush over and save Xian Hui. Xian Hui's heart heated up. Seeing that Xiao Mingxing had revealed an opening, he hurriedly took a step forward and used flurry. Chi. 3 consecutive slashes left 3 wounds on Xiao Mingxing's body, inflicting a bleeding status. Xiao Mingxing cried out in pain and retreated half a step. A green light flickered in his hand. Spirit World Rule Notification. Xiao Mingxing's battle skill, Thorn's entanglement is about to be activated, clang. The skeleton swordsman slammed its shield down. Xiao Mingxing's figure staggered, and the skill was forcibly interrupted. Shield bash. What kind of skeleton soldier is this? Xiao Mingxing was shocked and angry, but Xiang Hui took the opportunity to stab again. This time, it hit a vital point, causing heavy bleeding. Xiao Mingxing hurriedly used a hemostatic potion. Xiang Hui and a skeleton swordsman were able to suppress Xiao Mingxing. Although Chen Guo's attack from afar did not cause much damage, it was still very strong harassment, causing Xiao Mingxing to suffer. On the side, Yin Jun was also in trouble. He had just poked his head out from behind the relief pillar when he was hit by a bolt of lightning. His body stiffened, and his health points dropped by more than 30 points. It was a bone-piercing pain. He turned his head to look and saw that not far from Bai Xiaowen, there was a skeleton mage wrapped in a tattered black robe. There were faint flashes of lightning in its bony claws. This guy. Is he multitasking? Is he supporting 3 battlefields at the same time? But this should be his limit, so he hasn't attacked yet. Yin Jun glanced at Bai Xiaowen. Yin Jun could only play a game of Qin Wang circling the pillar with the skeleton mage to block his view. He still had an important mission and did not want to be hit by another lightning throw. Li Shi's target was Han Su. Although the damage was greatly reduced by Han Su's armor, Bai Xiaowen's purpose of attacking Han Su was not to finish him off quickly, but to stack the stacks of wind and thunder combo and fighting zeal. The 2 awakened ones with the invisibility ability have not shown up yet. Their target is me? Bai Xiaowen was actually very relaxed. Her mind power enveloped the battlefield as she secretly calculated. We are now 5 against 3, and we have the advantage of the number of summoned creatures. If they don't show up now, our chances of winning will be even lower when Xiao Mingxing falls. Bai Xiaowen suddenly narrowed the range of her mental scan, from hundreds of meters to just 10 meters around her. Instead, the precision of her mental scan was greatly increased. A faint figure appeared in Bai Xiaowen's mental scan range. It was Ding Cheng. Ding Cheng's body trembled. Apparently, he also realized that he had been discovered. However, he was already 10 meters away from Bai Xiaowen. He immediately sprinted, and the hilt of his short sword was aimed at the back of Bai Xiaowen's head. Prompt message: Ding Cheng's combat skill, staggering hit, has been activated. Bai Xiaowen could not freely command the summoned creatures when she was under the effect of staggering hit. As a single target control skill, staggering hit had to be activated in close range. It also had various disadvantages. However, staggering hit had one advantage, which was that the basic control duration was extremely long. It was a full 10 seconds. However, just as the staggering hit was about to take effect, Bai Xiaowen's body flashed with a faint golden light. The Eclipse Commander Badge's additional skill, Eclipse, had been activated. The staggering hit's control was instantly lifted. Chi. Chapter 200. The Shadow Assassin's figure appeared. It used Stealth plus Assassinate, a critical hit with a heavy bleed effect. Ding Cheng's HP dropped by a large chunk. Fortunately, he reacted quickly enough. He leaped forward and dodged the Shadow Assassin's next vital strike. If it were a normal level 4 awakened assassin, the Shadow Assassin's sneak attack would have dealt more than 1/3 of their total HP. It would have been an instant kill. Ding Cheng's armor should be relatively high, and his equipment should have been strengthened to reduce some of the damage. Bai Xiaowen thought to himself. He immediately controlled the Shadow Assassin to chase after Ding Cheng. He planned to kill him first. Little did he know that Ding Cheng's expression didn't look like he was in a sorry state after his sneak attack failed. He quickly used a hemostatic potion to stop the heavy bleeding effect. Ignoring the Shadow Assassin's pursuit, he stabbed his dagger at Bai Xiaowen. Ding Cheng's decision was a wise one. The Shadow Assassin was currently under the control of Bai Xiaowen's level 5 melee and level 5 one-handed swordsmanship. In terms of combat skills, it was even better than Blade Dancer Lara Red Leaf. It also had the racial passive ability to reduce physical damage by 50%. Ding Cheng was no match for the Shadow Assassin in a one-on-one fight. Bai Xiaowen was a summoner. He was the controller of the system and the core of the team. If he killed him, he would be able to turn the tables. He's a little too calm. Does he have some other tricks up his sleeve? Just as Bai Xiaowen had this thought, Han Su, who was surrounded by 3 skeleton swordsmen, suddenly emitted a blinding white light. He broke through the encirclement of the skeleton swordsman and rushed to Ding Cheng's side. He raised his tower shield and blocked the Shadow Assassin's next attack. This was Han Su's class skill, Assist. Han Su, who had rushed over, roared loudly. He held the huge tower shield with both hands and slammed it at Bai Xiaowen. Battle skill, Heavy Strike. Ding Cheng's short sword suddenly spun, creating a spinning sword that pierced towards Bai Xiaowen's chest. Combat skill, Spinning Assassination. At the same time, a figure suddenly appeared behind Bai Xiaowen. It was Lu Fei. With a sinister expression, he stabbed the daggers in his hands at the back of Bai Xiaowen's head. This was the combat skill, Gouge, which had a strong crowd control effect. In the distance, Yin Jun circled around the embossed pillar, raised his AK, and aimed at Bai Xiaowen. After charging for a short while, he fired a golden bullet. This was his battle skill, Headshot. As long as it hit, it would definitely be a critical hit. Even Xiao Mingsheng, who was being suppressed by Xiang Hui and the skeleton swordsman, released a mega earthquake at Bai Xiaowen's feet. In an instant, the school team relied on Ding Cheng's assassination, Han Su's support, Lu Fei's stealth, and the other 2's long-range support to form a situation where the 5 of them worked together to insta-kill Bai Xiaowen. Not good. The 4 people on Bai Xiaowen's side thought at the same time. This was a 5-man team's ultimate move. Bai Xiaowen was not a tank-type profession with a physique specialty. He was a spirit-type summoner. Even if he was a hero, he would not be able to withstand all the ultimate moves of the 5 of them. Lu Fei's eyes flashed with joy as he screamed in his heart, "Did you see that? Yin Xiaoxin. Zhao Yuding. Heroes are nothing. I'm the core of the school team." A white light flashed in Feng Xiang's palm, and a thin layer of white light shield covered Bai Xiaowen's body. As a support, this was all he could do. Feng Xiang's power word, shield, has been activated. Absorbs 30 points of damage for 30 seconds. Feng Xiang's passive skill, power word protection, has been activated. Your armor and magic resistance will increase by 5 points for 30 seconds. Bai Xiaowen, who was surrounded by 5 people, did not panic. He only opened his mouth slightly and spat out 2 words, deterrence. It was a powerful crowd control skill with a priority of 6 points. It did not require any casting action. It could be directly activated with a thought. The 2-star mutated skill, deterrence, had been activated. The core battlefield froze for a moment, as if time had stopped. Lu Fei's dagger was only a few inches away from the back of Bai Xiaowen's head. Ding Cheng's spinning blade had already touched Bai Xiaowen's chest. Han Su raised his tower shield high. The movements of the 3 people were all frozen. Shadow Assassin pounced forward and used his body to block Yin Jun's headshot from afar. Bai Xiaowen pulled out his Desert Eagle and aimed it between Lu Fei's eyebrows. Bye-bye. The last thing Lu Fei saw was the black muzzle of Bai Xiaowen's gun. Bang! Vital Strike. Yamazaki Ruji's combat gloves, 100% critical hit. Desert Eagle, +4 special effect, headshot, critical hit damage increased to 250%. Blood spurted out from Lu Fei's forehead as he fell backward. The death protection rule took effect. His HP was forcefully reduced to 1 point, and he was teleported out of the arena. At this time, Xiao Mingsheng's Mega Earthquake took effect under Bai Xiaowen's feet. Bai Xiaowen's HP was reduced by more than 20 points, and his movement speed was reduced. However, this amount of damage was not even enough to break Bai Xiaowen's power word, shield. Bai Xiaowen smiled at Feng Xiang. Your combat skills and class passive are well matched. Feng Xiang nodded, a little dazed. Thump, thump, thump. Just as the 5 people from the school team were attacking Bai Xiaowen, Li Shi had already activated the +4 special effect, sprint, of his black leather shoes, increasing his speed by 20%. At the same time, he used the combat skill, reckless charge. A figure dashed over at an astonishing speed and crashed into Ding Cheng's body. With a buzz, Li Shi's body was enveloped in a layer of faint flames. He activated Devilish Fire Dance, and stabbed with his sword, followed by Combo Slash and Judgment Dagger. In just 2 seconds, a large amount of damage was dealt. Ding Cheng had taken a assassination from the Shadow Assassin earlier, so his HP was not high to begin with. How could he withstand Li Shi's relentless attacks with Devilish Fire Dance? Seeing his HP drop like an avalanche until it hit rock bottom, he was horrified. Fortunately, the fear effect of deterrence was automatically dispelled after he was attacked. Ding Cheng rolled and crawled out of Li Shi's attack range. At the same time, he moved like a snake so that Bai Xiaowen's attacks could not find him. Li Shi did not chase after him. Instead, he turned around and continued to attack Han Su. Bai Xiaowen, who had long-range attacks, had no intention of finishing him off. "Do you look down on me that much?" Ding Cheng was a little angry. He felt as if a ball of fire was burning from the bottom of his heart. Boom! In the next second, the fire energy in Ding Cheng's body exploded. He entered a near-death state and was teleported out of the game. Chapter 201. Lu Fei and Ding Cheng, 2 awakened ones with invisibility skills, were killed in a single wave of attacks. It instantly became a 5 versus 3 situation. Lu Fei's death was the most humiliating. He was a level 5 elite awakened with 190 HP. His main equipment had been strengthened to more than +4. It could be considered luxurious. However, Lu Fei was controlled when he got close. Then, Bai Xiaowen's 2.5x critical hit him between his eyebrows, dealing more than 80 points of damage. He was instantly killed. Xiao Mingsheng and Yan Jun's morale plummeted as they were chased by a few skeleton swordsmen and Xiang Hui. On the other hand, Han Su blocked the attacks of the Wrath Claw and Li Shi with his giant tower shield. His expression was stiff, but he was as hard as a rock. Chi chi chi, Li Shi stabbed him a few times, but his HP was decreasing. She was shocked and said, "He has a damage reflection skill." Bai Xiaowen nodded and said, "I know." Damage reflection was Han Su's talent skill. After it was activated, 30% of the physical damage received, before it was reduced by the defense attribute, would be converted into magic damage and returned to the attacker. Fortunately, Li Shi did not rely on his high attack power to deal damage. Instead, he relied on his high attack speed to activate the special effect of the demonic fire jade, so his HP did not decrease too quickly. Bai Xiaowen waved his hand and said, "Don't worry about him. Go and kill the other 2. Li Shi nodded and gave up on Han Su. He rushed toward Yan Jun and Xiao Mingsheng, who were not far away. Han Su did not say a word. After slowing down with an earthquake, he diligently blocked Li Shi. The outcome is clear. Are you still not going to give up? Bai Xiaowen shook his head slightly. After losing Lu Fei and Ding Cheng, Han Su's side did not have enough damage output. However, looking at Han Su's stony face, Bai Xiaowen felt that it was pointless to say anything. With a wave of his hand, a spell talisman flickering with blue light shot towards Han Su, turning into a prison and trapping him. Talisman switching, imprisonment talisman. Li Shi and Wrathclaw circled around Han Su and joined up with Xiang Hui, skeleton swordsman, and the others. They surrounded Xiao Mingsheng and Xiao Mingsheng, while Chen Guowei and Feng Ziang provided long-range support. A group of skeletal sword shield wielders surrounded Xiao Mingsheng and his companion, leaving them no room to dodge. Wrathclaw raised its head and howled. A layer of blood-red light covered its allies, maximizing its damage output. Yan Jun was the first to fall and was teleported out of the match. Xiao Mingsheng's HP was also quickly depleted. As soon as Han Su's imprisonment ended, he immediately used assist, knocking away the skeleton swordsman. He then raised his tower shield once more, protecting Xiao Mingxing behind him. This kind of protective spirit was a necessity for a tank-type awakened. However, it was too late. Han Su's efforts only delayed Xiao Mingxing for a dozen or so seconds. Xiao Mingxing was still being attacked from all sides, continuously reducing his HP. In the end, he fell and was teleported out of the match. With Han Su's fall, the match was over. In the lounge, the other awakened who signed up for the match, including the cheerleaders, were dazzled. Tap, tap, tap. The sound of high heels clacking on the ground rang out. A capable beauty with red hair walked into the lounge and saw the live battle on the big LCD screen at a glance. However, the battle had just ended, and the big LCD screen quickly turned dark. "What are you guys watching?" A cheerleader looked in the direction of the voice and quickly stood up. "Teacher Yan, the person who came was Yan Xiaoxin." She nodded slightly. "Well, what's going on with the battle on the screen just now?" "I think I saw Bai Xiaowen." "It's Bai Xiaowen's team. They're fighting Senior Lu Fei's team. It's true slaughter mode. It's so interesting. Bai Xiaowen and Lu Fei? Why are they fighting?" Yan Xiaoxin was a little incredulous. "A team battle? Who's participating in both teams?" Wu Yuan walked over and explained the situation to Yan Xiaoxin after some consideration. While watching the battle just now, Wu Yuan's heart was very complicated. He didn't know why, but he faintly hoped that Bai Xiaowen would lose the match. However, things didn't go as he wished. Although the other members of Bai Xiaowen's team were weak, Chen Guowei, Xian Hui, and the others were not only suppressed in level, but they also didn't have an advantage in combat. However, with Bai Xiaowen's strength, he controlled the entire battlefield. Every time the skeleton swordsman blocked, rescued, and protected Xiang Hui and Li Shi just right, it would cause a burst of exclamations in the lounge. Multitasking, multitasking. Bai Xiaowen was so strong that he didn't seem like a summoner. All his summoned creatures seemed to have their own souls and could play a role close to that of awakened of the same level. Every time there was a low exclamation, it was like adding a handful of grass to Wu Yuan's heart, making him feel inexplicably suffocated. The most important thing was the team battle. When the five people's big moves smashed down on Bai Xiaowen, Wu Yuan felt an inexplicable sense of relief in his heart. However, what followed was Bai Xiaowen's ruthless counterattack. When Lu Fei and Ding Cheng, the two main players of the school team, were eliminated, the trace of jealousy in Wu Yuan's heart towards Bai Xiaowen disappeared without a trace. Instead, it was replaced by awe. Jealousy was born when the difference in status and strength between the two sides was not big. Awe came from the huge gap between the two sides. Now, Wu Yuan was just a little regretful that he should have accepted Bai Xiaowen's invitation. Feng Xiang, who was supposed to fill the hole, didn't do much. He only added an insignificant shield. It was a complete victory. In front of everyone in the lounge, Wu Yuan described the situation to Yan Xiaoxin in a more objective manner. He also tried to tell the truth about the conflict between Bai Xiaowen and Lu Fei. A freshman asked in a low voice, "Isn't Teacher Yan the counselor of our freshman class 1? Why did she come to the school team's base?" A beautiful cheerleading senior laughed softly and said, "It's just Teacher Yan's part-time job to guide the freshmen of your class 1. She's the teacher in charge of the school team." On the other side, after Yan Xiaoxin finished listening to Wu Yuan's account, her delicate eyebrows furrowed. Wu Yuan felt a chill in the bottom of his heart. Only now did he realize how scary Yan Xiaoxin was when she was angry. He shrunk his head and sat obediently in his seat. Since the fight was already over, Yan Xiaoxin quickly adjusted her mood and waited patiently with an expressionless face. Bai Xiaowen's team and Lu Fei's team followed behind Zhao Yuding and left the psionic ability training field in the center of the base. They returned to the lounge. Lu Fei's face was a little pale. He kept his head down, but there was a look of unwillingness on his face. Behind him, Xiao Mingsheng, Yin Jun, and Ding Cheng were all in a daze. The main force of the school team had been defeated by a ragtag team of freshmen that had been put together at the last minute. It was simply humiliating. Lu Fei, Zhao Yuding, come over here for a moment. Yan Xiaoxin's slightly cold voice sounded. Chapter 202. Unlike the crestfallen Lu Fei's team, Bai Xiaowen's 4 teammates all had excited smiles on their faces. Chen Guowei's smile even reached his ears. Watching Lu Fei and Zhao Yuding follow Yan Xiaoxin to the corridor outside the lounge, Chen Guowei whispered, "Looks like they're going to be scolded." Of course, Teacher Yan is the person in charge of the school team, Feng Xiang said. Wu Yuan and the other freshmen all felt a little awkward. However, they still came over. Bai Xiaowen, congratulations. I can't believe you actually defeated the school team, Wu Yuan said with emotion. It's nothing. Bai Xiaowen smiled. Excuse me. Wu Yuan wanted to say a few more words to explain why he rejected Bai Xiaowen's invitation to team up. Suddenly, a few people squeezed past him. They were the cheerleaders of Jinghai University's school team. A variety of different perfumes smelled into their noses. It was summer, so the cheerleaders were dressed very skimpily. They wore short sleeves and hot pants, revealing their white thighs. Junior, you're so good. You actually defeated the school team. I can't believe you're only a freshman. There's finally hope for our Jinghai University's CUAA League. We won't agree to anyone who doesn't let you join the school team. A group of girls surrounded Bai Xiaowen and the others. Of course, their main target was Bai Xiaowen. After all, in the game just now, anyone with a discerning eye could see that it was Bai Xiaowen's tyrannical overall vision and multitasking ability that stabilized the situation on the battlefield and staged a crucial counterattack. The carry team won the game. Wu Yuan and the other freshmen were pushed to the side. They were embarrassed to squeeze with the cheerleaders who were just ordinary people, so they could only look at Bai Xiaowen and the others enviously from afar. A small piece of paper was stuffed into Bai Xiaowen's hand. It was a beautiful senior with a hot body. She winked at Bai Xiaowen and said, "We're both surnamed Bai. We're from the same family. It's fate. Here's my phone number." The other beautiful cheerleaders felt that it was unfair. They joked and said, "That's right. Sister Yani, you're too fast. That's right, this is too much. It can't be helped. Sister Yani is the captain." Li Shi coughed, looking a little unhappy. The few beautiful female seniors had long noticed that her relationship with Bai Xiaowen was not ordinary, but they did not care. After all, the two of them were not married. Besides, in the context of the Psionic era, the stereotypical concept of one man and one woman was no longer popular. Junior's sister is also very pretty. She was very eye-catching in the team battle just now. Other than Xiaowen, you're the best. You're good-looking too. Li Shi had to admit that these beautiful cheerleaders had strong mental fortitude and thick skin. After being praised, Li Shi didn't know whether to be angry or not. She could only lower her head and keep a straight face, not saying anything. Bai Xiaowen smiled and reached out to hold Li Shi's little hand. Teacher Yan is the person in charge of the school team? Then she'll probably want to talk to me. Maybe after scolding Lu Fei, it'll be my turn. Xiang Hui nodded slightly. Both sides have to hit each other 50 times. It's the usual way to balance things out. But we clearly won, Chen Guowei said. It's not a matter of winning or losing, Bai Xiaowen said. Our challenge made Lu Fei and the others lose face. In Teacher Yan's eyes, it's equivalent to creating discord between the school team. For example, in the army, a new recruit takes down the platoon leader just because he knows martial arts. What do you think will happen? Chen Guowei withered. Damn it, this will leave a bad impression in Teacher Yan's heart. Outside the lounge, in a small office dozens of meters away. Tell me, what's going on today? Yan Xiaoxin was expressionless. Zhao Yuding lowered her head and said nothing. Lu Fei said, I don't know what's wrong with Bai Xiaowen. During the recruitment process, he jumped out and caused trouble. He took the initiative to provoke me and asked for a team battle. I couldn't possibly reject him. Yuding watched the whole thing. She can testify. Is that so? Yan Xiaoxin glanced at Zhao Yuding. Zhao Yuding seemed to be in a daze. When Yan Xiaoxin asked again, she came back to her senses and said blankly, "What?" Yan Xiaoxin frowned. I won't ask too much about how this battle started. However, I heard that the school team recruitment you presided over directly took up all the main positions and only left 5 substitute positions. Do you think Bai Xiaowen should be a substitute? Lu Fei's heart skipped a beat. He quickly explained, I meant well. After all, Bai Xiaowen is a summoner and is notoriously difficult to work with. I plan to let Bai Xiaowen be a substitute for the school team for a period of time. After he gets used to the rhythm of the team battle, I'll let him join the main team. Yan Xiaoxin interrupted him. Before the recruitment began, I told you that the school team will be formed with Bai Xiaowen as the core. After a week or two, after he gets used to the situation, he'll be given the captain's armband directly. This is not only my idea, but also Ko Qian's idea. What, did you take my words and Ko Qian's words as nothing? Lu Fei's heart was sour, and a feeling of jealousy welled up in his heart. He really wanted to say, isn't it just a hero class? However, the defeat just now made him lose the confidence to say this sentence. Yan Xiaoxin knew very well what Lu Fei was thinking when he disobeyed her instructions as the teacher in charge. Firstly, Lu Fei was a senior this year. As a veteran of the school team, he would definitely feel uncomfortable if he had to listen to a newcomer for everything in the future. Secondly, the Giant Gods Guild that Lu Fei signed with was about to face the problem of changing contracts. He wanted to make his resume look better. The title of captain of Jinghai University's school team still carried some weight. Based on these 2 reasons, Lu Fei planned to stretch Bai Xiaowen. He would let this freshman stay in the substitute position for a while. During this time, he would put on the captain's armband and then pull Bai Xiaowen into the main team. In fact, Yan Xiaoxin still didn't know that Lu Fei had some personal reasons for doing this, and that was Zhao Yuding. Seeing Zhao Yuding's soulless appearance, Lu Fei felt very upset. He had been pursuing Zhao Yuding, but Zhao Yuding didn't care much about him. She had been taking it for granted that she enjoyed his various attentiveness, but the relationship between the two had never made any progress. When he saw the photo on Bai Xiaowen's application to join the team, Lu Fei felt a sense of crisis. He usually flaunted his fair and clean appearance, but in front of Bai Xiaowen's celebrity picture-like appearance, the gap was like the gap between Pan X Jiang and Yao X Ming. If he jumped up, he could only hit the other party's knee. Although Bai Xiaowen already had a girlfriend, Lu Fei still felt a sense of crisis. He didn't want to give Bai Xiaowen the treatment of being surrounded by stars as soon as he came up. Therefore, it was reasonable for him to disobey Yan Xiaoxin's orders, as long as Bai Xiaowen obediently passed the challenge and became a substitute without any complaints. Lu Fei's position as the team leader was basically set. When the time came, Lu Fei could come up with another set of excuses to fool Yan Xiaoxin and the school authorities. However, Lu Fei didn't expect Bai Xiaowen's attitude to be so tough. He didn't give him any leeway at all. He directly broke the rules that he had set internally and challenged him. At that time, Lu Fei didn't really want to accept this challenge. If they fought, the school authorities would definitely be alerted, and he would also be reprimanded. However, Zhao Yuding left him with no way out. Moreover, when Lu Fei heard that Bai Xiaowen didn't join the school team as the wager, he was secretly delighted. This was a good opportunity to weaken Bai Xiaowen's potential prestige. After defeating Bai Xiaowen, he magnanimously expressed that he would let bygones be bygones and let Bai Xiaowen continue to participate in the substitute selection. Yes, this was the mature bearing of a 4th-year senior. This was the demeanor of a school team leader. At that time, even if Bai Xiaowen eventually joined the school team, the reputation of the hero profession would be completely lost. As for losing, Lu Fei didn't think that he would lose under normal circumstances. Even if Bai Xiaowen had some powerful one-time item and was lucky enough to defeat him, he could secretly incite his team members to say that Bai Xiaowen had an unfair advantage and request for a rematch. However, who would have thought that Bai Xiaowen would rely on his own ability to lead 4 miscellaneous troops to defeat the 5 main forces of the school team that Lu Fei had set internally without losing a single person on his side? 0 for 5. This result showed the strength of the hero profession. Of course, from Lu Fei's angle, he couldn't see this. He just felt that he had lost unjustly. The 5 of them had looked for an opportunity to surround and kill Bai Xiaowen, but in the end, they had all been controlled. He hadn't even been able to use 10% of his abilities before he had been tragically killed by a headshot. Change tactics. In a head-on team battle, first eliminate Bai Xiaowen's summon creatures and teammates, and then finally besiege Bai Xiaowen. I might not have lost. No, I definitely won't lose. This was the thought that coiled around Lu Fei's heart. Now that things have turned out like this, the face of the Jinghai University team is going to be completely lost because of you. Tell me, what should we do? Yan Xiaoxin was very angry. It would have been fine if the school team had won, but they had actually lost. They had been defeated by a motley crew of 4 freshmen and a third-year senior. This also indirectly confirmed the weakness of the Jinghai University team. Teacher Yan, Lu Fei was a little frightened. He didn't want to leave the school team. He was about to graduate, and if he didn't perform well in the critical academic year of his senior year, he was afraid that his contract change in the Giant Gods Guild wouldn't go very smoothly. Moreover, leaving the school team meant losing the opportunity to be in a favorable position. Zhao Yuding was the team leader of the school team. Seeing that Lu Fei couldn't even say a decent word, Yan Xiaoxin exhaled. Let's go back. Yan Xiaoxin's high heels clicked as she walked towards the lounge. Lu Fei and Zhao Yuding followed, each with a different expression. Lu Fei was uneasy, and Zhao Yuding was somewhat at a loss. Seeing Yan Xiaoxin come in, the beautiful cheerleaders around Bai Xiaowen scattered like frightened sparrows. Everyone watched Yan Xiaoxin's every move with curiosity and speculation in their eyes. Was it a one-sided reprimand, or was it a one-sided punishment to balance the contradictions in the team? Yan Xiaoxin's attitude was very important. Classmate Bai Xiaowen, you've given me a difficult problem today. Yan Xiaoxin flipped her dyed red hair and had a headache. Bai Xiaowen chuckled. Teacher Yan, don't say that. We freshmen were just joking with the seniors of the school team. Well, we won't participate in the school team, and we won't spread the news about today's game. I hope that senior Lu Fei will work hard and get good results in the league. Damn you, don't spread the news. With so many pairs of eyes watching, can you cover it up if you don't spread the news? Besides, Jinghai University's school team was so weak. What could Lu Fei do when he led the team? He might not even be able to keep the qualification for the CUAA League. Seeing Bai Xiaowen's attitude of wanting to leave, Yan Xiaoxin had an even bigger headache. Originally, she wanted to knock Bai Xiaowen's head twice, but now it seemed that tofu had fallen into the dust. She couldn't blow it or hit it. Before the school team recruitment, Coach Guan and I agreed that you should be the core of the team. Yan Xiaoxin could only express her attitude clearly. So, it's necessary to recruit you into the school team. Maybe when I conveyed my opinion to Lu Fei, I didn't make it very clear, causing Lu Fei and the others to misunderstand. That's why they let you compete for the substitute position. You're the top scorer of the college entrance examination that our school spent a lot of effort to invite. No matter where you go, you'll be the main force of the school team. Bai Xiaowen smiled and said, Thank you, Teacher Yan, and the school for thinking so highly of me. Chen Guowei and Xiang Hui secretly gave him a thumbs up. Judging from the change in Yan Xiaoxin's tone, they could save themselves the punishment. So, you can't just leave the team and say that you're not going to participate in the school team. Yan Xiaoxin patted Bai Xiaowen's shoulder. I just talked to Lu Fei. He's actually being kind. He wants you to practice in the substitute team for a while before joining the main team. Anyone with a discerning eye could see Lu Fei's thoughts. Bai Xiaowen didn't comment on it. It was obvious that Yan Xiaoxin wanted to make peace and mend the cracks in the school team. He wouldn't be so tactful as to undermine her. Do you think that if you were to lead the team, would the school team improve? Yan Xiaoxin asked. Bai Xiaowen smiled and said, "It's not about who's leading the team. It's about time that the school team needs to change. Let's say something offensive. For example, Senior Feng Xian, who joined our team as a support, has excellent attributes and skills. I don't think he's worse than the predetermined main support of the school team. But he didn't even make it to the substitute position. So, I think there's a big problem with our school team." Wu Yuan was secretly envious. Just now, Bai Xiaowen's team was short of one player. Feng Xiang took the risk of offending the school team's main team and took the initiative to stand up. Now, he was rewarded. Xiao Mingxing's face darkened. But to a loser, anything he said was an excuse. He could only lower his head and keep quiet. Yeah, the school team needs to change. Yan Xiaoxin was touched by Bai Xiaowen's words. Chapter 203. As soon as he said this, the lounge fell silent. Lu Fei, Xiao Mingsheng, Yin Jun, Ding Cheng, and the others all had ugly expressions on their faces. Previously, they had colluded to decide internally. Now, it was Bai Xiaowen's turn to decide whether they should stay or leave. The change of roles was too fast. The few of them felt somewhat uneasy. They were all third and fourth year students. Their performance in CUAA was already bad. If they were kicked out of the school team, it would be much more difficult for them to find a satisfactory guild and sign a good contract after graduation. Only Han Su's expression was still wooden, and no one could tell what his expression was. If Teacher Yan gives me the right to choose, then I won't hold back. Bai Xiaowen smiled and looked at Lu Fei and the others meaningfully. As far as he could see, Lu Fei and the others all looked away. No one met Bai Xiaowen's eyes. Yan Xiaoxin smiled. "Don't worry about it. This was also a test. It tested Bai Xiaowen's leadership ability. If Bai Xiaowen didn't care about their strength and forced Xiang Hui, Qin Guowei, and the others to be the main force of the school team, he would be a little narrow-minded. But even if Bai Xiaowen made this choice, Yan Xiaoxin wouldn't raise any objections. To her, the most important thing was to appease Bai Xiaowen and let Bai Xiaowen contribute to the school team. Bai Xiaowen was a first-year student this year. He still had a long time to play for the school team, a full 4 years. Add Li Shi, Xiang Hui, Qin Guowei, and Feng Xiang to the list of 10 members of the school team, Bai Xiaowen said without hesitation. It was as expected. Wu Yuan and the other freshmen sighed. If they had known, they would have agreed to Bai Xiaowen's team invitation. Yan Xiaoxin nodded. Okay. A trace of disappointment flashed in her eyes. The first step was to promote his trusted aides. What about the second step? Was he going to eliminate his dissidents and kick Lu Fei and the others out of the school team? Bai Xiaowen then said, "Now it's time to discuss the list of main team members." Yan Xiaoxin was a little surprised. Of the 10 names you mentioned just now, there are only 5, including you, Senior Han Su, and the others are already in the school team, right? Bai Xiaowen shook his head and said, "I don't think I need to read their name list again." Lu Fei, Xiao Mingsheng, and the others were pleasantly surprised. It wasn't that Bai Xiaowen hadn't thought of chasing Lu Fei and the others away so that his team could become the main force. But if that was the case, what was the difference between him and Lu Fei? Since he was in this position, there were many things that he could not do as he pleased. He had to consider the big picture and let the school team become a stage where the capable could rise and the mediocre could fall. He could not blindly form cliques and create small factions. Of course, Bai Xiaowen couldn't be 100% selfless. Strictly speaking, Qin Guowei's strength was slightly weaker, so it was a bit difficult for him to enter the school team. But there was only one spot, so it didn't matter much. Yan Xiaoxin didn't expect Bai Xiaowen to not chase Lu Fei and the others away. She breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Okay, then you guys discuss who should be the main force. We'll still listen to Bai Xiaowen's opinion." Bai Xiaowen said, "Li Shi is a rare elite profession. She has a very strong ability to deal continuous damage. At the same time, she has a very strong burst of power. She is completely qualified to be the main force. That's right. Her attack speed is very fast. She doesn't look like a level 3 awakened at all. Yan Jun and Ding Cheng both expressed their agreement. They were already thankful that they could keep their positions in the school team. They no longer had any extravagant hopes for the main force. At this time, they did not hesitate to change sides. Lu Fei's face was a little dark, but he still nodded in agreement with Bai Xiaowen's opinion. Although Li Shi was only level 3, her strength was obvious to all. Including Bai Xiaowen, the school team now had 2 main players. The team needs a tank-type profession. No one is more suitable than Han Su, Bai Xiaowen continued. Han Su's wooden face flashed with a trace of emotion. He looked at Bai Xiaowen with a trace of surprise. Bai Xiaowen did not say much. Han Su not only had the innate ability to reflect damage, but also the ability to assist. He could help an important position in the team take a fatal attack. His tactical position was very high. Even if Han Su was a member of the elite martial arts guild, he did not care. Then, we also need a support profession. Old Zhao's support skills are very strong. It shouldn't be a problem, Lu Fei suddenly said. When he heard that Bai Xiaowen had chosen Han Su, his heart was in turmoil. Alarm bells rang loudly in his head. Was Bai Xiaowen trying to drive a wedge between him, Han Su, and Xiao Mingsheng? Therefore, Lu Fei took the initiative to recommend Xiao Mingsheng. Xiao Mingsheng shrunk his head. In his heart, he felt a little resentful towards Lu Fei. Brother, do you really think you're that important? Are you sure that recommending me in front of Bai Xiaowen won't backfire? However, Lu Fei might have had this idea. Who could say for sure? Bai Xiaowen glanced at Xiao Mingsheng and shook his head. Senior Feng Xiang is qualified for the support profession. Feng Xiang was pleasantly surprised. He was already very happy to be able to join the school team. Now that he had been nominated by the captain to join the main team, it was undoubtedly even better. He sighed in his heart. It was a wise choice to step forward and take the initiative to join Bai Xiaowen's team. Why Feng Xiang? Zhao Yuding questioned. How is Xiao Mingsheng worse than him? Yan Xiaoxin's lips moved slightly, but she did not say anything. She wanted to see Bai Xiaowen's ability to adapt when faced with doubts. Bai Xiaowen glanced at Zhao Yuding and said calmly, "That's right. In fact, the school team has never accepted Senior Feng Xiang. This is what makes me curious. Compared to Xiao Mingsheng, Feng Xiang has a shield skill and a healing skill. His own passive skills are extremely compatible with these 2 skills. Even if he was placed in a professional team, he would be a support worth nurturing. Why would the school team not want him? With such a support, it should be very difficult for him to roam the wilderness, the trial space, or even the spirit world." These words made Feng Xiang's heart ache. As a support who specialized in spirit, he only had punishment, which was an offensive skill. The other 2 were all support skills. In addition, his passive skills were also support skills. His ability to fight alone was too lacking. Due to being pushed aside by Lu Fei and the others, Feng Xiang had been alone until he was close to elite level 4. It was not something that could be described as difficult. Bai Xiaowen continued, "The reason why I chose Feng Xiang and not Xiao Mingsheng is mainly because Feng Xiang is more compatible with my idea of building a team. Xiao Mingsheng's rock armor also provides good defense, but it has the negative effect of reducing movement speed and attack speed. It is only suitable for tanks, so it can only be used as a substitute." Bai Xiaowen's words were reasonable. Yan Xiaoxin nodded in agreement. Zhao Yuding also did not say anything. Lu Fei was a little panicked. Out of the 5 main positions, there was only 1 left. Looking at Bai Xiaowen's attitude, he was afraid that he would not give this position to him. However, for Lu Fei to take the initiative to lower his head to Bai Xiaowen and recommend himself for the final main position, he could not open his mouth. Especially in front of Zhao Yuding, a man's face was especially important. Chapter 204. That sounds like a good idea. Bai Xiaowen was amused by Qinghui's words. Zhao Yuding shrieked, "What about Lu Fei? He's a level 5 elite. He's an agility type like Xiang Hui, but he's 2 levels higher than Xiang Hui. He's stronger in terms of attributes, specialties, and skills. Why don't you want Lu Fei? Or did you choose the main force of the school team based on distance and closeness, and not strength? Bai Xiaowen smiled and said, Senior Zhao, you used the word also very well. Zhao Yuding's aura stagnated. Only then did she recall that Lu Fei and the others had decided to promote their own people, regardless of their strength. I'm not going to the main force, Xiang Hui said calmly. Chen Guowei was stunned. Huh? Old Xiang, this is a good opportunity. Xiang Hui didn't explain further. He crossed his arms and sat down. He looked at Bai Xiaowen and said, You know what I mean. Bai Xiaowen nodded slightly. Xiang Hui was a proud person. He hoped to gain recognition with his own strength and enter the main force. In today's battle, Bai Xiaowen and Li Shi had performed well. But what about Xiang Hui? As an agility-type warrior, he couldn't gain an advantage in a one-on-one battle with Xiao Mingsheng. If it weren't for Bai Xiaowen's skeleton swordsman, he might have been killed by Xiao Mingsheng. This was quite a blow to Xiang Hui. Xiao Mingsheng was so strong, but he couldn't enter the main force of the school team. If Xiang Hui entered, wouldn't people gossip? In today's battle, Lu Fei and the others were shocked by Bai Xiaowen. But wasn't Xiang Hui the same? He could clearly feel that the difference in strength between him and Bai Xiaowen had become even greater. The proud Xiang Hui didn't want to rely on Bai Xiaowen to enter the main force of the school team. Bai Xiaowen understood Xiang Hui's thoughts. In this situation, it wasn't appropriate to force Xiang Hui into the main force. If they met a strong team in the league, he could easily become the team's weak point. If he won, people would say he didn't do anything. If he lost, he would be the scapegoat. It was better to let Xiang Hui train in the substitute team first. As for Chen Guowei, Bai Xiaowen had the same considerations. Then, the last spot for the school team's main force will be given to Lu Fei. Teacher Yan, what do you think? Yan Xiaoxin couldn't be more satisfied. She could tell that Bai Xiaowen was very fair when he chose the name list of the school team and confirmed the main lineup. Just from this point alone, he was more worthy of being the team leader than Lu Fei. Thank you. Lu Fei looked at Bai Xiaowen with a complicated expression on his face after being rescued from death's door. He originally thought that he had no chance. Unexpectedly, not only did he enter the main list, but he also didn't lose his position as the main force. You don't have to thank me, Bai Xiaowen said calmly. The main lineup isn't set in stone. Those who are capable will be promoted, and those who are mediocre will be relegated. Whoever performs well and improves quickly will be promoted to the main team. If there is any main force of the school team that only wants to live off their past achievements and doesn't want to improve themselves, or if they don't obey orders during the competition, they will be directly removed. Even the substitute team will not be accepted. Lu Fei didn't feel good being lectured by a freshman like Bai Xiaowen. However, he didn't refute it. Seeing this scene, Yan Xiaoxin felt a little relieved. The cracks in the school team hadn't widened. They had basically gathered the strongest fighting force of Jinghai University. With this lineup, there was hope for them to achieve good results in the league if they worked well together. However, after the list of the 10 members of the school team was confirmed, the other students who signed up for the team had their own opinions. Teacher Yan, what about us? We won't even be given a chance to enter the substitute team? Someone whispered, didn't they say that those who are capable will be promoted, and those who are mediocre will be relegated? The school team has a few substitutes who aren't even as good as me. Bai Xiaowen was already prepared for this. Previously, when we competed against the original main lineup of the school team, there was an empty spot. However, in the end, you didn't even have the courage to fight. Only Senior Feng Xiang stood up and joined my team. Therefore, you were all eliminated. After a pause, Bai Xiaowen added, however, the list of the 10 members of the school team is the same as the main lineup. It isn't set in stone. Every 2 months, an assessment will be held. The substitutes who don't meet the assessment standards will be temporarily eliminated. They will compete with the other applicants for the vacant substitute spot. Chen Guowei asked, "What are the assessment standards?" He was a little nervous. In terms of strength, he was the weakest among the substitutes. Bai Xiaowen smiled and said, "The substitute team's main purpose is to cultivate students with potential. The assessment standards will be based on the degree of improvement. As for how to measure the degree of improvement, it will be up to Teacher Yan to decide." Yan Xiaoxin smiled and said, "That's a good idea." Chen Guowei grinned and said, "Old Bai. Oh no, Captain is wise. This is a good idea." He was relieved. Although his starting point was low, it meant that he had a lot of room for improvement. Those seniors who had spent 2 or 3 years in the university definitely didn't improve as much as him, a newcomer. The other applicants still felt that it was unfair. However, seeing that Yan Xiaoxin had expressed her support and didn't want to offend Bai Xiaowen, the upstart captain, they could only accept this rule. However, the school team's door wasn't completely closed. They still had a chance to compete in 2 months. Well, the school team's recruitment activities are over. Those who aren't members of the school team, please leave the lounge first. The school team members are going to have a short meeting. Yan Xiaoxin clapped her hands. Together with the beautiful female cheerleaders, a group of people left the lounge. When no one was paying attention, the senior named Bai Yani turned around and made a phone call to Bai Xiaowen. Bai Xiaowen looked straight ahead and appeared very serious. Li Shi quietly put down her small hand on his left thigh. Soon, only Yan Xiaoxin, Zhao Yuding, and the 10 new members of the school team were left in the lounge. Now that the lineup of the school team has been decided, I hope that all of you will be united and achieve excellent results in the league tournament. You will bring glory to the school, Yan Xiaoxin said. Next, Zhao Yuding, tell the new students about the benefits of the school team. Zhao Yuding, who had been absent-minded, finally came back to her senses. She didn't have any expression on her face. Like a recorder, she explained the benefits of the school team in a flat and straightforward manner. In terms of points, every member of the school team, regardless of whether they were the main force or the substitutes, would receive a fixed 100 points every month. These points could be used to exchange for the right to use the spiritual ability training field, apply for one-on-one tutoring from teachers, and exchange for the right to enter some special treasured lands. Speaking of the right to enter special treasured lands, every 2 months, the school team members would receive a free right to train in a special treasured land in the wilderness. There was another point, and that was the spiritual ability training field. The school team's training base had a dedicated spiritual ability training field. They didn't need to spend points. They only needed spiritual ability points to open it. Inside, they could cultivate their combat skills and increase their proficiency in combat specialties. These are the basic benefits of the school team. If you can achieve excellent results in a large-scale competition and bring glory to the school, you will also receive honor points as a reward. You can exchange them for the right to enter the training space. Yan Xiaoxin listened to Zhao Yuding's emotionless voice, which sounded like a recorder, and she was a little unaccustomed to it. She concluded Zhao Yuding's speech with one sentence. Chapter 205. The LCD screen lit up again. Yan Xiaoxin said, "The qualifiers for the CUAA League will begin in 2 months. Jinghai Base City belongs to the Jianghai Division. We have 2 qualifying spots, but there are 6 universities competing for them. The videos I got are the information on the other 5 universities' ace players." On the big screen, a handsome young man in a sky blue uniform appeared. Yan Xiaoxin introduced, "This is Jiangnan University's ace player, Qi Ruifeng. Last year, Jiangnan University was able to reach the semi-finals because of his contributions." In the video, Qi Ruifeng held a battle stick in his hand. He didn't panic at all when facing 3 opponents. With a flick of the tip of the stick, he hit one of the opponents on the chin and threw the opponent into a back throw. Perhaps the enemy who was hit didn't have enough HP, but the damage caused by the back throw ignored additional defense and killed him on the spot. Furthermore, the shockwave caused by the suplex also forced the other two to take a step back. A light blue halo appeared on Qi Ruifeng's body. It was unknown what kind of buff it had triggered. He patiently dealt with the other two, showing his superb fighting and mechanical skills. Just 10 seconds later, Qi Ruifeng found another opportunity and threw another enemy to the ground. Blue light flickered, and another enemy was smashed to the ground behind him. A light blue halo appeared on Qi Ruifeng's body again. Then, Qi Ruifeng raised his right hand. Blazing flame energy condensed and a huge fireball flew out, engulfing the enemy on the ground. Another instant kill. The last remaining enemy naturally posed no threat to Qi Ruifeng, and was easily dealt with in a few moves. Yan Xiaoxin paused the video and said, Qi Ruifeng's strength is very tyrannical. Last year, he was already a level 5 hero. This is a video of him in last year's semi-finals. At that time, his 4 teammates were all dead. There were only 3 enemies left. 2 of them were basically unharmed, but you saw the result. Qi Ruifeng defeated 3 enemies by himself and led his team to the semi-finals. What's his specialty? Why do I feel like he knows back throw and fireball? And they all look very powerful. Chen Guowei raised his hand and asked. Qi Ruifeng's specialty is mental strength. His class is a battle mage, a hero template. Yan Xiaoxin said. Spirit specialty? Bai Xiaowen was a little confused. Could it be that this is a special skill of his profession? Yan Xiaoxin nodded. His class passive abilities include 2 points. First, all of his throwing skills have spirit as the main attribute. The probability of judgment and damage are calculated. Secondly, every time you succeed in throwing a skill, you can add a buff called the more you fight, the stronger you get. It can increase your spirit by 10%, and it can be stacked up to 3 times. Bai Xiaowen understood. He nodded and said, very strong indeed. Suplex was only a low-star skill. Its cooldown was very short, and its MP consumption was also relatively low. As a hero, the reason why Qi Ruifeng chose back throw was to quickly stack the class passive of the more you fight, the stronger you get. Therefore, combat skills were basically useful. It didn't matter if 1-star level was low. As long as one chose the right combination of skills, 1 + 1 was greater than 2. When the passive was stacked up to 3 times, he could directly use a big fireball with 30% more power to teach the opponent a lesson. What was even better was that the opponent would be under the control of the throwing skill. There was no way for them to dodge or defend. They could only use their faces to take the fireball. Chen Guowei clicked his tongue and said, we have such a strong person in our division. No wonder Jiangnan University has secured a place in the qualifying round. The other universities shouldn't have such a strong person, right? Yan Xiaoxin shook her head and said, last year, only Jiangnan University had a hero in the Jianghai division. Including our Jinghai University, the other 5 universities didn't have one, but this year is different. Yes, our school also has a hero. Chen Guowei laughed. Yan Xiaoxin shook her head again. Not only our school. Jinling University also has a hero. Ah. Yan Xiaoxin clicked on the second video. It was a slightly thin and pale boy. This person is called Jiang Yi, Yan Xiaoxin said with emotion. He took the college entrance examination 2 years ago. At that time, he wasn't an awakened and his grades were very average. In the end, he was a few points away from entering Jinghai University. Instead, he went to the combat department of Jinling University, which was slightly worse. It wasn't until last year that his total attributes reached 20 points and reached the threshold of an awakened. However, after the spiritual realms trial ended, Jiang Yi surprised everyone. He was promoted to a hero class. Fortunately, Jinling University had already lost the qualification to participate in the CUAA League. Jiang Yi's hero was useless, so it didn't have an impact on Jinghai University. Yan Xiaoxin continued, of course, last year, Jiang Yi was only a level 1 hero. Although he had great potential, his combat power wasn't strong. It wasn't a big problem for him to participate in the competition. This year is different. According to the information I found, Jiang Yi is already a level 3 hero. His growth is very fast. Yan Xiaoxin didn't find any battle videos of Jiang Yi. She only found a recent interview video. Student Jiang Yi, can Jinling University qualify for the Jianghai division of the CUAA League this year? Jiang Yi, it's hard to say, but I'll try my best. A middle-aged man next to him smiled and added, Jiang Yi's strength is unquestionable. It's a pity that the strength of the other members of Jinling University is still lacking compared to the elites of Jinghai University, so the final result is hard to say. Then, student Jiang Yi, what do you think are your chances of winning against Jinghai University? Jiang Yi thought for a while and said, 60 to 70%. It mainly depends on how well I perform. Student Jiang Yi is very confident. This year, Jinghai University also has a hero. His name is Bai Xiaowen, and he even won the title of the strongest college entrance examination top scorer in history. Student Jiang Yi, who do you think is stronger between you and Bai Xiaowen? The reporter who asked the question was obviously trying to stir up trouble. For them, even if there was no news, they had to create news. Otherwise, who would be willing to click if there was no news or selling point? A smile appeared on Jiang Yi's fair face as he said, I think I'm stronger. Bai Xiaowen is restrained by me. The reporter became excited. Student Jiang Yi, are you saying that if you meet Bai Xiaowen, you have enough confidence to defeat him? Aren't you a little too confident? Jiang Yi nodded slightly, ignoring the look of the middle-aged man next to him. I'm just stating a fact. There's no need to lie about this kind of thing. Excessive modesty will become hypocrisy. To be honest, I really want to retake the college entrance examination and have a taste of being the top scorer. Unfortunately, I awakened too late. The reporter got the selling point he wanted and was very satisfied. He comforted Jiang Yi with a few words, such as great talent matures slowly. After the video ended, Chen Guowei snorted. This Jiang Yi is really arrogant. He hasn't even fought against old Bai. I mean, Captain, yet he looks like he's going to win. How infuriating. Bai Xiaowen smiled and said, being able to change to a hero means that he must be very powerful. I'm also very curious about the class he mentioned. Generally speaking, the class that can restrain a summoner is an assassin. They can sneak over and kill the summoner with a vital strike. But this Jiang Yi is so thin and his face looks like he's lost a lot of blood. I really can't tell what he's capable of. Chen Guowei said. Yan Xiaoxin said, Jiang Yi has never participated in a competition. Jinling University's school team treats him as a secret weapon. His information is not public, so there's no specific information about his class and skills. I only heard that he seems to be a spirit type. He probably wants to play dirty during the competition for the Elite League. Xiang Hui said. This kind of secrecy doesn't make much sense. Everything will be clear after a fight. Bai Xiaowen shook his head and said. In this era of advanced information, it was impossible for the Awakened to keep all their secrets. Even Bai Xiaowen would inevitably have to reveal his Blaze bloodline in the fierce competition in the future. The Awakened should constantly work hard, improve, and increase their trump cards. They should always keep the opponent's information a beat behind. Only then could they gain the upper hand in the competition. The next few videos were all of the more outstanding school team members from other universities in the Jianghai division. Although there were no hero classes, it could be said that there were hidden dragons and crouching tigers. If the school team led by Lu Fei had participated in the competition, they might not have been able to keep the qualification of the Jianghai division. After watching these videos, Bai Xiaowen also understood Yan Xiaoxin's thoughts. What Yan Xiaoxin was most worried about was that Bai Xiaowen would underestimate the CUAA League and become arrogant after leading a group of misfits to defeat Lu Fei's team. She prepared these few videos, especially the video of Qi Ruifeng's 1 against 3, to put pressure on Bai Xiaowen and let him see clearly the powerhouses in the CUAA League. However, Yan Xiaoxin still underestimated Bai Xiaowen's mindset. Even if the CUAA lead was a noob, Bai Xiaowen would not stop moving forward. There was still the Pro League, the Super Cup, and the powerhouse who could cut off the Balrog's arm. Those were Bai Xiaowen's goals. In the next few days, the new team members will first familiarize themselves with the base. Those who have never used the psionic ability training ground can experience it. The captain will come up with an official training schedule in 2 days and allocate the time to use the psionic ability training ground, Yan Xiaoxin said. Allocating the time to use the psionic ability training ground was also one of the captain's rights. The base had an exclusive psionic ability training ground, which was Space A03, for the school team members to train. Generally speaking, Space A03 could accommodate around 2 to 5 people at a time. The use of the psionic ability training ground was divided into batches. After a batch of people entered, no one else was allowed to enter before their scheduled time was up. Of course, there was a fee to use the psionic ability training ground. Under the psionic ability training mode, 1 hour would cost 100 psionic ability points. If one wanted to set up some special rules, such as changing the terrain, increasing the recovery of mental strength, physical strength, and so on, additional psionic ability points would be required. This was only the lowest level of the psionic ability training ground. Some high-end psionic ability training grounds could even be set to reduce the cooldown time by half, obtain combat specialties, and double the proficiency of skills. This would make training twice the result with half the effort. Yan Xiaoxin left after giving her instructions. It's still early. Why don't we go and experience it first? Bai Xiaowen asked for the others' opinion. Xiang Hui said, count me in. Li Shi said, I'll go too. Chen Guowei raised his hand. Let's go, let's go. Bai Xiaowen pulled Feng Xian along. Senior, you should come too. He said to Han Su and the others, those of us who haven't experienced the psionic ability training mode before should go and experience it first. Lu Fei, Han Su, and the others naturally had no objections. Ding Cheng and Yan Jun even took the initiative to follow Bai Xiaowen all the way to the light door of the psionic ability training ground at the center of the base. They explained how to operate the control panel. There are still about 3 hours before lunchtime. Let's set it at 3 hours. Bai Xiaowen made some adjustments and received a notification that 300 psionic ability points would be deducted. There's no need to change the terrain. The arena's terrain can also be used. Do we need to adjust the psionic ability recovery speed? Bai Xiaowen asked for the others' opinions. Yan Jun said, Captain, if you want to practice minor skills with short cooldowns, you still need to adjust the psionic ability recovery speed. In our psionic ability training ground, we can set the psionic ability recovery speed to 3 times. If the skill has a long cooldown, the psionic ability recovery speed will naturally be able to keep up with the consumption, so there's no need to adjust it. Li Shi said, let's set it to 3 times. 2 of my 3 skills are minor skills. Xiang Hui and Chen Guowei also expressed their agreement. They both specialized in agility, and the psionic ability recovery speed was always a pain. In comparison, Bai Xiaowen needed it the least. Okay. Bai Xiaowen set the psionic ability recovery speed to 3 times. He received another notification, a total of 900 psionic ability points would be deducted to maintain the psionic ability recovery speed for 3 hours. Next was the psionic ability recovery speed. They didn't have any requirements for it. Bai Xiaowen's psionic ability ancient martial art style required a lot of psionic ability recovery speed. However, he didn't plan to reveal his Inferno bloodline yet, so he didn't need to waste psionic ability points to adjust the psionic ability recovery speed. He spent a total of 1,200 psionic ability points. According to the rules of the psionic ability training mode, the cost was shared among everyone, so each person would have to spend 240 psionic ability points. The dim door of light quickly turned pale blue. Captain, when you enter, remember to split into teams. Team 1 for the blue door of light, Team 1 for the red door of light, Ding Cheng reminded. If all 5 of you enter at the same time, you'll be teammates. You won't be able to train in pairs. Bai Xiaowen nodded. He thought for a while and decided on the teams. Feng Xiang and I will go in first. When the door of light turns red, the three of you will go in. Then how are we going to train in pairs? The three of us against the two of you? Qingwei asked. You guys will train with my summoned creatures, Bai Xiaowen said matter-of-factly. Feng Xiang will be responsible for healing and shielding the summoned creatures. Both can be improved. Xiang Hui couldn't help but admire Bai Xiaowen's brain. How could he think so quickly? Chapter 206. In the arena where they had fought before, the five of them met again. Captain, hurry up and summon your skeleton soldiers for me to use as practice targets. Qingwei rubbed his hands and chuckled. Don't think that the training mode is easy. You have to give it your all to achieve the best results. Xiang Hui seemed to have some experience. If you have a playful attitude and don't treat your opponent as an enemy, your proficiency will increase very slowly. Huh? Qingwei was stunned. How can we fight like this? If we give it our all, the three of us together won't be able to beat Captain, not to mention we have senior Feng Xiang as our healer. Bai Xiaowen shook his head and said, giving it our all is just a way to fight. I don't need to summon all my summoned creatures. Let's assign them now. Xiang Hui, which summoned creature do you want to train with? Xiang Hui said, Wrath Claw. It was Xiang Hui's style to pick the strongest one right from the start. Li Shi hesitated for a moment. She was the type that had strong attacks but weak defense. Bai Xiaowen made the choice for her and smiled. My talisman switch skill can summon 2 scarecrow demon soldiers. Although their attacks are weak, their HP is not low. I'll give them to you to train with. If you don't feel pressured enough, I'll send shadow assassins over. Li Shi nodded. Bai Xiaowen raised his hand and all his summoned creatures appeared in the arena. The 2 scarecrow demon soldiers attacked Li Shi. The Wrath Claw was more intelligent and was confused as to why its opponent was Xiang Hui. However, Bai Xiaowen quickly gave the order through their telepathic link. This was a real combat practice. Don't hold back an attack with all your might. The Wrath Claw howled and pounced at Xiang Hui. Xiang Hui thrust out his swords but was sent flying by the Wrath Claw's claw. He took a few steps back. The Wrath Claw is a boss after all. Its basic attributes are very strong. You can't fight it head-on, Bai Xiaowen said. Xiang Hui nodded and changed his fighting style to focus on dodging. During such sparring sessions, Xiang Hui's fighting and swordsmanship specialties, as well as Bai Xiaowen's Wrath Claw summoning skill proficiency, were slowly increasing at an unnoticeable rate. On the other side, Li Shi had gained the upper hand in his sparring with the scarecrow demon soldiers. Li Shi's attack speed increased as the battle progressed. The 2 scarecrow demon soldiers' basic attributes were too low. They were unable to fully utilize the power of Bai Xiaowen's level 5 close-range combat ability. Their HP was quickly reduced by more than half. Light gathered in Feng Xiang's hand as he cast, Power Word, Shield, on one of the scarecrow demon soldiers. Then, he cast, Minor Heal, on the other one. Bai Xiaowen then transferred the Shadow Assassin to join the attack, temporarily stabilizing the situation. 3 times the recovery speed of spiritual power is indeed very comfortable. Feng Xiang sighed. Only in the training ground could such rules be set. What about me? Qingwei asked. He was a little impatient. Which aspect do you want to train? Close combat or long-range combat? Bai Xiaowen asked. Long-range combat then. Qingwei recalled the scene of a skeleton sword-wielding Xiang Hui beating Xiao Mingxing to a pulp. He still had some lingering fear. In comparison, Bai Xiaowen's skeleton mage could be bullied. After all, there were pillars in the arena to block his view. Bai Xiaowen nodded. He controlled the skeleton mage to cast lightning throw and threw a bolt of lightning at Qingwei. Qingwei drew his bow and started shooting. Taking advantage of the fact that the skeleton mage couldn't move while channeling, he shot 2 arrows. Then, seeing the lightning ball flying towards him, he shouted, I'll dodge it, and quickly hid behind a pillar. However, under the control of Bai Xiaowen's level 5 meditation, the lightning ball turned in a coquettish arc and hit Qingguowei. Qingguowei's hair stood on end. Ouch, ouch, ouch! Qingguowei yelled. The lightning throw had taken almost 40 points of his health. It was painful to the bone. Captain, can't you go easy on me? Be serious. Why don't you take advantage of the fact that the skeleton mage's lightning throw is on cooldown and steal his health? Bai Xiaowen controlled the skeleton mage to move and scolded Qingguowei at the same time. Your reaction just now was very problematic. You waited until the spell was cast before dodging. Didn't you think about which mage doesn't have meditation? You should have dodged around the pillar when the channeling was about to end so that the skeleton mage would lose its target. Qingguowei hurriedly did as he was told and seized the opportunity to attack. However, the skeleton mage was an elite, so its agility was not low. Under Bai Xiaowen's control, its snake-like movements were very coquettish. Qingguowei missed 7 or 8 of his 10 arrows. Predictive shooting. You have to look at the direction of the opponent's movement. Bai Xiaowen's shooting specialty was level 3 under the buff of the strongest scholar title. He also had experience in shooting. Qingguowei repeatedly complained. He did not dodge the second lightning throw and was electrocuted. However, in the process of such actual combat, his advanced shooting specialty was also slowly improving. Bai Xiaowen's multitasking ability was once again displayed. His mind covered the 3 battlefields at the same time, giving orders to different summon creatures. He was even able to give precise orders. Xiang Hui, Li Shi, and Qingguowei gradually grasped the knack of it and felt less pressure than before. However, Bai Xiaowen would not let them off so easily. He immediately used deterrence. The 3 of them froze and fell into a state of fear. They were only awakened after being hit by an attack. Old Bai, you're a little too much. Qingguowei was electrocuted again and did not have much health left. Bai Xiaowen chuckled. I have to practice too. TSK, the mental recovery speed of 3 times is really awesome. My deterrence skill will be used once every 4 minutes and 45 seconds. You guys should be mentally prepared. Once again, Xiang Hui felt the difference between him and Angry Claw. Angry Claw had not used any of his ultimate skills, only using Bite and Ren to fight him. Xiang Hui could only barely engage in a skirmish, but the speed at which he lost HP was still faster than Angry Claw. Qingguowei waved his hands. I can't take it anymore. I have to stop fighting. Stop fighting. One more electric shock and I'll enter a state of near death. Xiang Hui and Qingguowei rested temporarily while Bai Xiaowen stopped attacking. In the state of rest, the health points of the 2 slowly recovered. Feng Xiang also took some time to heal the 2 of them. However, healing non-combat enemies would not increase proficiency. Before long, the 2 of them recovered and started fighting again. The cycle repeated over and over again. Bai Xiaowen's deterrence skill finally reached level 2. With the support of Brainiac, it reached level 3. The cooldown was reduced to 4 minutes and 30 seconds. After 3 hours of training, everyone was forced out of Space A03. How do you feel? Bai Xiaowen looked at the increase in proficiency of his Talisman Switch skill and Wrath Claw skill and felt very happy. I'm exhausted, Qingguowei said while panting. Physical exhaustion was one thing, but the pain caused by the repeated depletion of health points also caused mental exhaustion. The gains are not small, Xiang Hui said. My 2 combat specialties are about to level up. My proficiency also increased by a lot. Xiang Hui had been training with the strongest Wrath Claw, so his improvement speed had also increased. Li Shi was also improving while fighting 3 summon creatures at the same time. Feng Xiang's mental recovery speed increased by 3 times. He was almost always using skills during the cooldown period, so his proficiency increased by a lot. In the end, the 5 of them agreed that the psionic training ground was a treasure trove. However, it was not suitable to train too much. 3 to 4 hours of training a day was enough. How do we allocate the time? Xiang Hui asked. Actually, there's plenty of time. Just the 10 hours from 8 in the morning to 6 in the evening is enough for the school team, Bai Xiaowen said. Whether it's the school team's main members or substitute members, there's an individual quota of 1 hour from 8 in the morning to 6 in the evening. You can freely combine your individual quotas and use them together. For example, if the 5 of us combine, we can use up to 5 hours. Bai Xiaowen paused and continued, as for the night, there's no need to calculate the time. We'll go by first come, first served. Just practice as you wish. Chapter 207. Tap, tap, tap. Zhao Yuding, who was wearing a black silk miniskirt, walked quickly. Lu Fei quickly followed behind her. Yuding, wait for me, Lu Fei, how many times have I told you to call me by my full name? Aren't you afraid that people will misunderstand if you call me that? Zhao Yuding stopped in her tracks. Her expression was as cold as an iceberg, making people feel intimidated. Lu Fei looked a little embarrassed, but it quickly disappeared. He put on a smile and said, Yuding, don't be angry, okay? What did I do wrong? Tell me, and I'll definitely correct it. Zhao Yuding said calmly, what's there to be angry about? You're not my boyfriend. Senior Lu Fei, please conduct yourself with dignity. The sound of high heels clicking could be heard again. Lu Fei hurried a few steps and caught up with Zhao Yuding. I know. I didn't perform well today. I didn't help you vent your anger. Zhao Yuding snorted. I really lost unjustly this time. If we fight again, I might not lose. Lu Fei said. You still have a chance to fight again? Why don't you take a look at where your teammates are? Zhao Yuding mocked him mercilessly. Ding Cheng and Yan Jun have become Bai Xiaowen's lackeys. Even Han Su was dragged over for a meal. You only have Xiao Mingxing left. They're just there to join in the fun. I usually treat them quite well. Lu Fei said without much confidence. Zhao Yuding looked at Lu Fei with disdain. Why didn't I realize that you were so childish before? Who doesn't know that the hero class is a powerful support, and your clumsy performance today has proven Bai Xiaowen's strength. He is a god carrying 4 people and forcefully carrying the team. What about you? You were the first to be killed. After a pause, Zhao Yuding continued, you still want to fight Bai Xiaowen for power? Stop dreaming. He has the support of Yan Xiaoxin above him and a bunch of hardcore freshmen below him. He even roped in Han Su and the others. What makes you think you can compete with him? Lu Fei's anger surged. He gritted his teeth and said, Bai Xiaowen wants to lead the team to achieve good results. It's not that easy. Yuding, I'm a member of the main team. I can play his part at the crucial moment and prevent the school team from entering the top 16. The sound of high heels stopped. Zhao Yuding looked at Lu Fei in disbelief. Are you really going to do this? When Lu Fei saw the change in Zhao Yuding's expression, he felt that there was hope. He immediately took a step forward and affectionately said, as long as Yuding is happy, I will naturally do what I say. Lu Fei, I really misjudged you. Zhao Yuding's voice was low with a hint of anger. Isn't Jinghai University your alma mater? What did the Jinghai University team do wrong to you? They spent so much effort to train you for 4 years just to let you drag them down and become a traitor at the crucial moment? Lu Fei didn't expect Zhao Yuding's expression to change from an iceberg to a volcano. He panicked. Yuding, I didn't mean that. Lu Fei, you disappoint me too much. Originally, I thought that although you don't have a prominent background, you have relied on your own efforts to get to where you are today. It's not easy and your ability is outstanding. But now it seems that your vision is too shallow after all. You didn't even think that being a traitor at the crucial moment would ruin your own future? Do you think our Giant Gods Guild would dare to renew the contract with you after doing such a thing? Lu Fei hurriedly smiled apologetically and said, I saw that you were unhappy, so I just said it casually to make you happy. Zhao Yuding's expression eased. She gently exhaled and said, this kind of joke is not appropriate. Since you are still a member of the school team's main lineup, you should play well and strive for a dazzling performance. On the one hand, it's to prove your value. On the other hand, it's also for the honor of your mother team. I'm going home today. You train well, and don't make things too stiff with Bai Xiaowen. Okay. Yuding, you drive carefully. Call me when you get home. Don't make me worry. Lu Fei watched Zhao Yuding leave. Bah! I'm really cheap. Lu Fei clenched his fists and slapped himself in the face. His chest heaved up and down violently. After lunch at the school team's table, Bai Xiaowen took out the draft of the training grounds time allocation plan and consulted everyone's opinions. Yan Jun and Ding Cheng were a little surprised when they saw that, regardless of whether it was the main force or the substitutes, each person would have a fixed 1 hour per day. However, they were more pleasantly surprised. This proved that Bai Xiaowen had no intention of excluding them. Of course, they raised both hands in agreement. Hansu also agreed and gave Bai Xiaowen a thumbs up. In fact, he wanted to say something because he could feel that Bai Xiaowen valued him very much. For example, he had specially invited him to this meal. However, Hansu's personality was rather dull and he was not good with words. He could only use his actions to express himself. Although Xiao Mingsheng and Lu Fei aren't here, if all 8 of us agree, this allocation plan will be considered approved. I'll report it to Teacher Yan later. Bai Xiaowen had just finished speaking when his phone suddenly vibrated. He had received a text message. After reading the text message, Bai Xiaowen smiled and said, "It's from Teacher Yan. He has good news for everyone." Everyone pricked up their ears. The first special treasure location of this semester will open in a week. Don't all the members of our school team have the right to enter for free once? If anyone wants to go, you can sign up with me. Of course you have to sign up for this, Yan Jun said. The special treasure location only opens 2 or 3 times a year. In a semester, it only opens once or twice. If you don't go this time, you might have wasted your free entry. The few freshmen, including Bai Xiaowen, understood and nodded in agreement. Ding Cheng smacked his lips. The opening of the special treasure land is really early this time. In the past, it was always during the qualifying rounds of the CUAA League. Now, it's 2 months in advance. I wonder what level of treasure land it is. Ding Cheng then explained the concept of the different levels of the treasure locations. The so-called special treasure locations were dimensional fragments separated from the spirit realm. In terms of size, they were much larger than the training grounds. The lowest level treasure location was the size of a city. The rules of the treasure location were similar to the spirit realm. It did not have the death protection of the training grounds, so there was a certain level of danger. However, the danger of the treasure location was much lower compared to the real spirit realm. The most important reason was that there were no main missions in the treasure location. Entering the treasure location was through a spatial rift. If one wanted to return, they could leave with just a thought. There was no main mission, which meant that they did not have to follow the rule of leaving combat for 10 seconds. Moreover, all the loot in the treasure location could be taken away, unlike in the spirit realm. They could only take away the loot or mission rewards recognized by the spirit realm's rules. In the treasure location, they could pack up the corpses of powerful monsters and bring them back to use as crafting materials. If they saw strange medicinal herbs, they could also dig them out and sell them to the pharmacy. The word treasure in the treasure location was derived from this. The level of the treasure location represented the danger of the treasure location and was linked to the level of the monsters living in it. The richer the psionic particles in the treasure location, the higher the level of the monsters in it. Of course, the psionic treasures contained in it would also be of higher quality. Teacher Yan sent another message. He said that the exploration of the treasure location this time was jointly organized by the 6 universities in the Jianhai district. Basically, all the members of the university teams will participate. There are also some non-team members who used their school points to exchange for the right to enter the treasure location. So, the number of people entering the treasure location should be relatively large. The preliminary estimate is that there will be no less than 100 people, Bai Xiaowen said. So many people. Chen Guowei exclaimed. Then, he said, I wonder if we will meet Qi Ruifeng and that arrogant Jiang Yi. Logically speaking, they should all participate. Bai Xiaowen was also looking forward to it. In the following week, the members of the school team trained step by step and improved to varying degrees. Bai Xiaowen's spell switch had also risen to level 2. As for the Summon Wrath Claw skill, under Xiang Hui's training, its proficiency had also increased to 70%. The psionic power training ground was really useful, but the psionic power points consumed were also quite painful. In the past 7 days, Bai Xiaowen and Li Shi had invested nearly 3,000 psionic power points. The psionic power points needed to upgrade skills were even more. Li Shi's 1-star skill, Sanction Dagger, was upgraded to level 2 and cost 1,000 psionic power points. Bai Xiaowen's, Deterrence, was a 2-star skill, so it cost 3,000 psionic power points to upgrade it to level 2. As for Spell Switch, it was a 3-star skill, so it cost 5,000 psionic power points to upgrade it to level 2. Below level 3, including level 3, the price of upgrading skills of each star level was as mentioned above. After a skill was upgraded to level 4, the psionic power points needed would be even more. The total psionic power points of the two quickly decreased to around 6,000, in the small lakeside villa, Taoran residence. We have to think of a way to earn more psionic power points. We can't just sit around and eat, Bai Xiaowen said. Let's kill more commander-tier monsters during this exploration of the special treasure land, Li Shi said. Well, also, it's time to draw my Earth World Fame reward again. Bai Xiaowen had been counting the days in his mind. Let's draw around and see if we can get a ticket to the spirit realm. Should we wait until the exploration of the special treasure land is over? Li Shi asked. No, we'll draw it after 3 months, Bai Xiaowen said. The ticket to the spirit realm is usually valid for a minimum of 7 days. Our exploration of the special treasure land will end within 7 days, so even if we get a ticket to the spirit realm, there's still time. Bai Xiaowen summoned the virtual roulette. The spirit realm's rules prompted the message. It has been detected that in the past 3 months, your lowest world fame level is C, and the highest world fame level is B. Final rating, C. You have received a chance to draw a ticket to the spirit realm. A slightly illusory bronze roulette appeared in front of Bai Xiaowen. The same needle, the same 4 major areas, 40% chance to draw psionic power points, 30% chance to draw a ticket, 20% chance to draw equipment, and 10% chance to draw an unknown reward. The god of dice, the roulette to save the country, open. The roulette needle spun quickly. Stop! As Bai Xiaowen shouted, the roulette needle slowed down and began to spin as if it was destined to do so. This time, Bai Xiaowen moved the wheel in the opposite direction. The needle moved to the equipment reward area at 20%. What kind of equipment will be rewarded with a C-grade roulette? Bai Xiaowen asked. Usually, it's blue equipment, and there's a small chance of gold equipment, Li Shi quickly answered. That's fine. However, the needle did not give him face. It slowly passed the equipment reward area and entered the vast white area at 40%, the psionic power reward area. Don't give me psionic power points. Bai Xiaowen shouted. The C-grade roulette would only give about 2,000 psionic power points. It was not as valuable as the other options. Bai Xiaowen stared at the roulette needle. He watched the needle move inch by inch like a tortoise. He wished he could blow at it to make it move again. Soon. The black area ahead is the unknown reward area. No matter what kind of reward it is, its value is usually 10 times higher than the other reward areas of the C-grade roulette. Li Shi was a little excited. The needle slowly stopped at the boundary between the black and white areas. What do you mean by stopping at the boundary? Bai Xiaowen was a little confused. Move forward a hair's distance. At this moment, a notification came from the spiritual realm. You have received an unknown reward. The reward is being randomly selected. you have received a ticket to the spiritual realm. Choke. Bai Xiaowen clenched his fists and cheered. Li Shi was also full of smiles. Since this ticket to the spiritual realm came from the unknown reward area, it must be more than a C-grade ticket. The roulette's light disappeared, and an ancient parchment floated in the air. Bai Xiaowen's palm touched the parchment, and the spiritual realm's notification appeared again. You have received a special item, mysterious slip of paper. Mysterious slip of paper teleports the user to the spiritual realm. Disappears after use. Remaining usage period, 10 days. Bai Xiaowen received a further notification. Based on the item's grade, you have received 2 additional draws, 2/6. The contents of the draws are as follows. A. Significance. Your entry status in the spiritual realm, including but not limited to official position and power position, will be increased by 2 levels. B. Prestigious. Your entry status in the spiritual realm, including but not limited to noble rank, caste, and bloodline, will be increased by 2 levels. C. Opportunistic. After you enter the spiritual realm, the difficulty of the main mission will be reduced by 50%, and the rewards will remain unchanged. D. Freedom. After you enter the spiritual realm, you can ignore the requirements of the main mission and return to Earth at any time. Your gains in the spiritual realm, including but not limited to psionic energy points, equipment, and items, will not disappear. E. Durability. After you enter the spiritual realm, the completion time of the main mission will be increased by 50%. F. Challenge. After you enter the spiritual realm, an elite challenge mission will be generated. 2 out of 6? Bai Xiaowen said with a smile. This should be the treatment of a B-grade ticket. Chapter 208. Bai Xiaowen looked at the 6 enhancement functions again and said, A, B, and B, A, B, and B, and A, B. Options A and B enhance one's status, while C, D, and C reduce the difficulty of the main mission. I'm most interested in option E. Extending the completion period of the main mission means that we can stay in the spirit world for a longer period of time. We can make arrangements more leisurely and obtain greater benefits. As for option F, it's completely prepared for lazy people. It saves us the time to dig for side missions. Options A and B seem to be a little repetitive, Li Shi said. It's not repetitive, Bai Xiaowen said. Option A is a position, and option B is a family background. For example, in the King of Fighters dimension, if we draw option A, we might start with a bureaucratic position at the police station. If we draw option B, we might start with a descendant of a certain aristocratic family, but we won't hold a public office. Li Shi nodded to express his understanding and finally said, which of these options do you think is better? If I were to choose, option E, durability, which extends the duration of the main mission by 50%, is ranked first, Bai Xiaowen said. As for the other 5 options, option D, freedom, is better, followed by options A, B, and F. Option C, speculation, is ranked last. Bai Xiaowen immediately began to draw. The spirit world's rules prompted him. You have drawn option B, prestigious family. You have drawn option E, durability. At that moment, the item name of the mysterious note had changed its description to prestigious family's durability mysterious note. Bai Xiaowen smiled. Not bad, but the name is a little lame. He put the ticket into his storage space. Having a spirit world ticket is equivalent to having an additional protective talisman. When wandering in the wilderness, if you encounter danger that you can't resist, you can choose to immediately enter the spirit world to hide. This is the experience of many awakened seniors, Li Shi said with a smile. The problem now is how do we gather the psionic energy points needed to establish a temporary team. Bai Xiaowen sighed and calculated. I'm now at level 3 of the hero class. To establish a temporary party, I need to spend 12,000 psionic points. As for you, as a level 3 elite class, you will need to spend 6,000 psionic points to join my party. That's 18,000 points of psionic energy. The psionic energy points we have are far from enough. How about I go find my dad and ask him for some help? Miss Li was thinking about the vegetable farmer again. Don't ask for it for now. This time, the special space in the wilderness could be evacuated at any time, so they wouldn't encounter any danger that they couldn't handle. Also, the last time we went to the world of the King of Fighters, we obtained a piece of gold equipment that can be traded, the Snake Envoy's Belt. Also, we obtained a piece of blue shield that can be traded. I can entrust the guild to auction it off, Bai Xiaowen said. Yeah, we can kill more elites and bosses to earn more mana, Li Shi said, clenching his fists. Previously, when they were rich, the two of them were somewhat extravagant. Now that they were in the red, they suddenly felt the preciousness of psionic energy points. It wasn't that the two of them hadn't thought of using real money to buy psionic energy points. Unfortunately, this method wouldn't work. Only the Awakened could get psionic energy points, and no matter how poor the Awakened were, they didn't lack money. Of course, it was impossible for them to sell psionic energy points, which were as important as their lives. In addition, the psionic energy scholarship promised by Qinghai University wouldn't be issued for a few months. Distant water couldn't quench the immediate thirst. The next day, Bai Xiaowen and Li Shi drove an off-road vehicle to the gathering point. This time, there were a total of 23 people from Qinghai University who had signed up to participate in the special space exploration, including the 10 members of the school team. The non-school team members had spent 400 points in exchange for a chance to explore the special space. This wasn't a small number. A diligent combat department student might only be able to save 300 or 400 points in a semester. This time, Yan Xiaoxin was leading the team. She was accompanied by a tall middle-aged man wearing sunglasses. According to Yan Xiaoxin, this middle-aged man was the special coach of the school team. His name was Guan Zhongliu. As an advanced awakened, Coach Guan was usually busy improving his strength, so he rarely appeared at the school team's training base. However, according to the rules, he would take a few days out of every month to train the school team members, especially in the aspect of combat. He would impart some experience. The awakened students who participated in the special space exploration all brought their own vehicles. A few acquaintances got together and drove an off-road vehicle. In this way, the 23 people drove a total of 10 off-road vehicles and formed a motorcade. Yan Xiaoxin and Guan Zhongliu got into Bai Xiaowen's off-road vehicle. Do you mind if Coach Guan and I hitch a ride? Yan Xiaoxin smiled and tied a small red flag to the rearview mirror. I'm afraid it's too late to say that I mind. Bai Xiaowen joked and then skillfully started the car. He drove in front of the motorcade and led the way. The motorcade moved forward in a mighty manner. Along the way, Coach Guan was silent. Except for a few questions at the beginning, he became a taciturn person. On the other hand, Yan Xiaoxin and Li Shi chatted quite well. Through the chat, Bai Xiaowen learned about Yan Xiaoxin's background. Mr. Yan Buiyuan, the president of Qinghai University, is your grandfather? Bai Xiaowen asked in surprise. Yes, I take my mother's surname. Yan Xiaoxin smiled. Teacher Yan's background is amazing. Bai Xiaowen finally understood why Yan Xiaoxin, despite her young age and experience, was able to take on the role of the most important teacher in the school team of the combat department. She was also in charge of the most talented class of freshmen, Class 1. It was because of this relationship. Yan Xiaoxin must be highly valued by the president. This arrangement was equivalent to Yan Xiaoxin continuously expanding her network. Think about it, the elites of Qinghai University's combat department were all under Yan Xiaoxin's tutelage. If this continued for 10 or 20 years, how much wealth would her network be? Yan Xiaoxin was considered a busy person in the school. She was personally in charge of recruiting students. She pulled Bai Xiaowen, the strongest scholar in her own family, over to her side and promised generous terms. Principal Yan Buiyuan also agreed to it. Yan Xiaoxin smiled and said, Actually, my background is just average. There's someone in the school team whose background isn't any worse than mine. Who? Li Shi was curious. Qinghai University's president, Yan Buiyuan. In terms of influence, he was equivalent to the president of a class A guild. However, a university and a guild were two different organizations. Therefore, his authority was not as great as that of a class A guild's president. However, his reputation was undoubtedly higher and he was more respected. Who was the person whose background wasn't any worse than Yan Xiaoxin's? Bai Xiaowen imagined a girl in a black silk miniskirt. Chapter 209. There's such a relationship. Bai Xiaowen remembered Fu Yiping, who he cheated out of 20,000 psionic points and half a silver item. He said insincerely, President Fu Yiping is a generous person. Li Shi snorted, no wonder she always makes things difficult for us. Guan Zhongliu and Yan Xiaoxin had both heard about the grudges between the Giant Gods Guild and the Super Gods Guild, including the poaching of the Super Gods Guild's pillar, Ling Feng. After all, although the Jinghai-based city was large, the Circle of Awaken was not large, especially since there were very few heroes. Yan Xiaoxin smiled, Zhao Yuding may have a bad temper, but she's not a bad person. Don't misunderstand her. We'll be together for a few years. Bai Xiaowen nodded, of course. At this time, the convoy had entered the hinterland of the wilderness. Suddenly, in the distant wilderness, a strange rustling sound was heard. At first, the sound was not loud, but it grew louder and louder. It was as if countless small sounds had converged into a huge sound wave, surging towards the convoy. Something's wrong. Yan Xiaoxin quickly grabbed the small red flag and shook it through the window. Bai Xiaowen stopped, and the Jinghai University convoy behind him also stopped. Guan Zhongliu took off his sunglasses and looked over. On the distant horizon, a black shadow appeared, advancing at an extremely fast speed. It's a mutant rat tide. Guan Zhongliu put on his sunglasses again, looking more relaxed. Mutant rats were a relatively weak type of mutant beast. Their congenital deficiency determined that their room for development was very limited. They relied on their reproductive ability to bring about an advantage in numbers, preventing them from going extinct. A mutant rat tide was generally controlled by a rat king, commander. Even if the students couldn't handle it, Guan Zhongliu, a high-level hunter, could kill the rat king and force the mutant rats to retreat. Attention, all students. Get out of the car immediately and face the mutant rats. Each group will choose a direction. Do not interfere with each other and do not snatch the target. If you encounter an irresistible danger, call for help immediately. Yan Xiaoxin took a deep breath and issued a clear order. The doors of the 10 off-road vehicles opened, and the 23 students, including Guan Zhongliu and Yan Xiaoxin, got out. Squeak, 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 a series of teeth-numbing sounds converged into a sharp sound wave. Ordinary people with weaker mental strength would have fainted after hearing it. Even if they could withstand the sound waves, they would probably faint from fright when they saw the rat tide formed by countless rats half the height of a human. Claw rats, plague rats, venomous rats, ironhide rats. I can see 7 different types of rats. It's not a small scale, Guan Zhongliu said slowly. I'm afraid there's more than one rat king. Yan Xiaoxin understood and gave a second order. The scale of the rat tide is rather large. Be careful not to charge too deep. Melee classes in front, ranged classes at the back. Pay attention to protect the spellcasters. Let's go. Bai Xiaowen couldn't hold it in any longer. In his eyes, these mutant rats were all spiritual energy points. Of Bai's. Of course. Of them. Of their points. With a wave of his hand, a group of summoned creatures appeared. The skeleton sword and shield bearers lined up in front. The Wrathclaw, skeleton mage, and shadow assassin were at the back, protecting Li Shi and Bai Xiaowen in the middle. Bai Xiaowen immediately used the talisman switch skill to summon 2 scarecrow demon soldiers. There were 9 summoned creatures in total. The non-school students were stunned. It was a one-man team. Fortunately, summoned creatures were usually weaker than awakened ones of the same level. The skeleton sword and shield bearers swung their iron swords. Under the guidance of their level 5 one-handed sword skills, almost every strike hit the vital points of the rats. The rats, which had an average HP of around 30, were instantly killed by decapitation and throat slit. Even the skeleton swordsman could be killed instantly, not to mention the shadow assassin and rage claw. Their attack speed was faster, and their killing efficiency was higher. Li Shi took the lives of the rats through the gaps in the skeleton sword and shield bearer's protection. At the same time, she stacked her passive status. She also equipped the B-level title, Killing Madman. After killing dozens of mutant rats, the bonus effect was maximized. Her sword whistled as it pierced forward, and the sword shadows were almost connected from head to tail. Her attack speed was astonishing. In just a minute, Bai Xiaowen and Li Shi had advanced about 100 meters and encountered the first elite claw rat. Although it was an elite, the sharp-clawed rat was only level 2. The shield bash of the skeleton swordsman was enough to make it lose its balance. Li Shi stabbed a few times with her sword, and with Bai Xiaowen's support from afar, the sharp-clawed rat was killed within a few seconds. Guan Zhongliu, who was beside the off-road vehicle, saw this scene and said with emotion, "What a different summoner. Although I've seen him fight in videos, I still can't help but feel emotional when I see it in real life. Jinghai University has really picked up a treasure." Yeah, we all saw Bai Xiaowen's battle video during the base city defense battle. He's different from normal summoners who aren't good at teamwork. He's simply a freak. He can control multiple lines and give different orders to different summon creatures at the same time. That's why the summon creatures have the effect of 1 + 1 greater than 2. Yin Xiaoxin said with a smile. Fortunately, only we saw Bai Xiaowen's performance during the base city defense battle. Otherwise, the other universities would have put in more effort to fight for him. Boom! A dazzling ball of fire flashed in the middle of the group of rats. The fire covered an area of more than 10 meters. In an instant, hundreds of rats were killed. The one who attacked was a magician who specialized in mental strength. He glanced around proudly. In the face of such a large number of cannon fodder-level mutant beasts, a magician who specialized in large-scale spells was undoubtedly a terrifying cannon. No one could compare to his speed of killing the rats in an instant. However, after seeing the speed of Bai Xiaowen's advance, the magician's face fell. Bai Xiaowen's 9 summon creatures killed an average of 5 to 6 mutant rats per second. The most enviable thing was that they didn't need to expend any mental strength to maintain such a terrifying speed of killing. His large-scale fire spells, on the other hand, could kill hundreds of rats at once. Although it seemed powerful, the cooldown time of the spell was 2 minutes, and the mental strength consumption was quite shocking. In 2 minutes, Bai Xiaowen's summon creatures could kill hundreds of mutant rats. Sure enough, a standard class can't compare to a hero class, even if it's the one that I'm best at. The magician secretly made up his mind. I heard that there's a second chance to change classes after level 10. I must try to change to a hero class then. On the other side, Bai Xiaowen and Li Shi's advance had already earned nearly 1,000 psionic points, including the 200 psionic points from the unlucky elite clawed rat. Squeak, squeak, squeak. With a series of squeaks, the group of mutant rats separated into 2 sides. The surrounding mutant rats became sparse, and Bai Xiaowen's summon creatures' killing efficiency decreased significantly. Bai Xiaowen looked up and saw 4 large black-skinned rats in front of him, surrounding a mutant rat the size of an adult. A leader appeared so soon. Chapter 210. Insight, 30 mana points deducted. Gray Ear, Boss Level 3, /Challenge Rating, 7, Race, Wild Beast / Terrestrial Beast, Attributes, Strength 21, Agility 30, Constitution 17, Spirit 9, Skills, Dexterity, Claw, Crippling Bite. Surround it and kill it, Bai Xiaowen said. This boss rat King Gray Ear's attributes were similar to the Wrath Claws, but in terms of skills, Dexterity was only a passive dodging skill, Claw, and Crippling Bite were not very good. In terms of strength, it was much weaker than the two ultimate skills of the Wrath Claw. The natural disadvantage of a species was obvious. Four skeletal sword wielders rushed forward side by side. Squeaking sounds were heard, and four elite iron-skinned rats rushed over, but the Wrath Claw used laceration to hit one of them and used bite to catch the second one. The Wrath Claw then threw the second one to the ground, making the elite iron-skinned rats dizzy. The skeletal sword wielders cooperated and surrounded the elite iron-skinned rats. They raised their shiny iron swords and chopped them up. The elite iron-skinned rat's fur was very strong against physical attacks. Under the attacks of the four skeletal sword wielders, the elite iron-skinned rats lasted for 10 seconds before dying. The skeleton mage threw a lightning bolt and electrocuted the third iron-skinned rat. Magic damage ignored armor and directly reduced 1/3 of the elite iron-skinned rat's HP. Then, the shadow assassin appeared next to it and slashed its throat, killing it instantly with a critical hit and a vital hit. Before the fourth iron-skinned rat could rush over, it was glared at by the Wrath Claw. It shrank its head and ran away faster than when it came. In the blink of an eye, the four guardian deities beside the leader of the rats, Grey Ear, had either died or fled. Grey Ear was the only one left. Grey Ear's bean-sized eyes showed a trace of fear. Its spirit attribute was as high as 9, and its intelligence was very high. Looking at the other battle lines, the mutated rats had suffered countless casualties, but none of the humans had fallen. Grey Ear finally realized that these humans were not normal humans, but all of them were terrifying awakened ones. Squeak squeak, Grey Ear let out a sharp cry. In other parts of the rat pack, there were low screams of agreement. Obviously, they came from the other rat pack leaders. The entire group of rats quickly retreated like the ebbing tide of the sea. After Grey Ear shouted, he turned around and tried to escape. Keep it. It's worth 3,000 spiritual energy points. When Bai Xiaowen saw Boss Monster, it was as if he saw a walking mana point. He immediately ordered the Wrath Claw to use its ultimate skill and pounce on it. It was as if Grey Ear had eyes on the back of his head. He twisted his body strangely to the side and dodged Wrath Claw's ultimate attack. This is the effect of the passive ability, Dexterity. Bai Xiaowen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Alright, a big suppressive move that almost never misses was dodged by a mouse. Looks like I can't underestimate any enemy. Bai Xiaowen used deterrence, causing Grey Ear to be rooted to the ground. The four skeleton sword shield bearers surrounded him and raised their iron blades. Crackle, crackle, the skeleton sword shield bearers' wild slashes didn't actually cause much damage to Grey Ear. However, the shadow assassin's attacks were more painful. The Wrath Claw, which had missed its target, came over with a belly full of anger. It bit and bit. Li Shui also joined in. She directly activated the demonic flame dance. The sizzling sound was endless, and streaks of fire accompanied by sword shadows shot out. The light of the demonic flame accumulated in Grey Ear's body. The Grey Ear Rat King cried out in pain and launched a counterattack. Its maiming bite was blocked by the skeleton sword shield bearer's iron shields. With a crack, 2 rows of dents appeared on the iron shields. Then, its body shook violently, and a burst of green smoke spread out. Bai Xiaowen received a notification. Unknown skill of the Rat Pack leader, Grey Ear, activated. Shi, retreat. Bai Xiaowen said loudly. Li Shi retreated without hesitation. However, a trace of the green smoke still touched her. She immediately received a notification. You have been poisoned. The poison effect is, you will lose 20% of your maximum health points in 5 seconds. Fortunately, Li Shi's health points were originally full. Losing 20 to 30 health points was not a big problem. She immediately activated the +7 special effect of the demonic flame jade pendant and exploded the accumulated fire force in Grey Ear's body. The summoned creatures surrounded and attacked while enduring the poisonous smoke. After a few seconds, the Rat Pack leader, Grey Ear, fell to the ground with a thud. A small golden treasure chest appeared on top of its corpse. So the skill that I didn't see through was the poison. I was wondering why this rat boss's 3 known skills were so weak. It turns out that the essence of the skill lies in the last one. Bai Xiaowen sighed as he watched the summoned creatures lose nearly half of their HPs. A skill that reduced health points by a percentage didn't seem like much now. However, when it reached a higher level, it would be terrifying. However, she believed that this skill of gray ears had its limits. It definitely wouldn't be as toxic when used against enemies that were much higher in rank. The rat pack came and went quickly. In the time it took for Bai Xiaowen and Li Shi to kill Gray Ear, the rat pack had completely retreated. Bai Xiaowen chose to open the treasure chest. He and Li Shi were allocated 3,000 spiritual points according to the kill contribution ratio. A notification came from the spiritual realm. The battle was graded C, qualified. You have received a chance to draw loot that will not be missed. Strictly speaking, this level 3 boss was not as strong as Bai Xiaowen. Moreover, with Li Shi's participation, it was already very good that the battle was graded C. Bai Xiaowen randomly selected a card. You have received a special item, Powerful Life Toxin. Powerful Life Toxin, team bound apply it on your weapon to poison the target. 20% of the target's health points will be deducted within 5 seconds. Number of uses available, 2 halves, special prompt, it will deal full poison damage to standard creatures below level 7, including level 7, same below, elite creatures below level 5, and chieftain creatures below level 3. If the target's level is too high, the effect of the life toxin will be weakened. The golden light disappeared and Bai Xiaowen had a bottle of viscous black liquid in his hand. It would be great if there was no level restriction. Unfortunately, there is a level restriction. This special item is a lot less useful. With Bai Xiaowen's current strength, he didn't need to use poison to deal with a level 3 boss monster. Only bosses above level 5 could be considered a relatively strong enemy. According to the description of the special notification, this bottle of poison wasn't that effective against strong enemies. However, Bai Xiaowen didn't expect to get anything good from killing the leader of the rat pack. The 3,000 spiritual points were his main goal. Bai Xiaowen did a quick calculation. In this rat tide, he and Li Shi had killed over 1,000 unranked mutant rats, 6 elite mutant rats, no drops from treasure chests, and 1 level 3 commander mutant rat. The 2 of them had earned about 5,000 spiritual points. Their total savings had finally reached more than 10,000 spiritual points. Bai Xiaowen's Dark Soul Stone had increased to 30 soul essence. Bai Xiaowen took out a piece of meat the size of a longan fruit from the body of Gray Ear, the leader of the rat pack. It was like jelly, trembling and very tempting. He took out a bottle of water from his storage space and rinsed it. Then, he and Li Shi shared half of the water and ate it. The raw meat melted in his mouth. Bai Xiaowen felt a stream of pure spiritual particles slowly seeping into his body. You have eaten a boss mutant rat meat for the first time. Your base agility has permanently increased by 2 points. Your movement speed has increased by 4% for 1 hour. Li Shi ate the meat and also gained 2 points of agility. He also gained a movement speed buff. The 2 of them also took out the meat from the other elite mutant rats and ate it. However, they didn't receive any attribute buffs. It was like eating a few pieces of delicious jelly. We've already eaten higher level treasured meat, so it's impossible for these lower level ingredients to increase attributes, Li Shi said. Actually, there's a limit to how much treasured meat can increase an individual's attributes. It's related to the number of treasured meat we've eaten before in our level. Bai Xiaowen nodded. I understand. The more meat we've eaten, the less attribute buffs we'll get, or even none at all. It'll only give us some buffs that are better than nothing. In this aspect, Bai Xiaowen had done some research. Someone had made a record of it. An awakened, from low to high, had eaten almost all the common elite and commander grade mutant beast meat under level 10. The meat had increased his attributes by a total of 10 points, which was also the limit. Bai Xiaowen put the bodies of the leader mutant rat Gray Ear and the 6 elite mutant rats into the storage space. Ordinary mutant rat meat was, of course, cheap, but elite and commander rat meat was still quite valuable. Going deep into the wilderness is really a combination of risk and opportunity. Back in the off-road vehicle, Bai Xiaowen said with some emotion. This location is about 100 kilometers away from the base city, right? I can't believe there's such a large group of mutant rats here. It's easy to get a few thousand psionic points. Yan Xiaoxin said, it should be the leaders of several groups of mutant rats. They misjudged the situation and thought that we were an ordinary convoy. That's why they gathered together to attack us. When they found that we were all hunters and had no loopholes to exploit, they quickly ran away. A mutant rat group of this size is actually very rare. Instructor Guan said, danger and opportunity coexist in the depths of the wilderness, but it's not true that it's easy to earn psionic points. Even if you're a hero, you have to be careful when facing such a group of rats. Because there will always be a time when your spirit and physical strength will be exhausted. A mutant rat may only cause 1 or 2 points of damage, but with so many mutant rats coming one after another, they can pile up and kill you. After a pause, Instructor Guan added, of course, for a summoner-type hero like you, the safety factor is higher than other hero classes. Undead-type summon creatures have unlimited physical strength. With 4 skeleton soldiers guarding you, you're basically invincible. Bai Xiaowen smiled and said a few modest words, but he was secretly happy. The convoy drove 200 kilometers away from the base city before reaching their destination, the Rift Valley of the Broken Back Mountain. Although they encountered a few mutant beasts along the way, they didn't have the courage of the rats. They didn't dare to rush over and besiege the convoy. Most of the time, they only followed them for a few miles and then gave up. Dozens of cars were already parked on the open ground in front of the Rift Valley. The convoy of Jinghai University slowly drove into the open ground and stopped. The students of Jinghai University got out of the cars one after another. Ms. Yan, you're here. A few greetings came from the same direction. Bai Xiaowen looked in the direction of the voices and saw a few people about the same age as Yan Xiaoxin. They also looked like teachers. They smiled and greeted Yan Xiaoxin, then walked over. Yan Xiaoxin also smiled. Ms. Jiao, Ms. Meng, Ms. Yu, and Ms. Zhang, you're all so fast. Where's Mr. Zhu from Jiangnan University? Why don't I see him? The 4 leading teachers of the university seemed to have a good relationship with Yan Xiaoxin. At least on the surface, they seemed to be very friendly. Bai Xiaowen expected that the leading teachers of the university teams would be at each other's throats. The scene where they couldn't wait to fight each other personally did not happen. One of the teachers pursed his lips and said in a low voice, the last one to show the prestige of Jiangnan University. It can't be helped. After all, Jiangnan University is the boss. Yan Xiaoxin shook her head and smiled. She changed the topic. How's the entrance to the treasure land on Broken Ridge Mountain? We just checked it. The strength has just reached level 2. Let's wait a little longer, one of the teachers said. The teachers talked about the situation of each other's teams. While hiding the information about their own teams, they also praised each other and discreetly spied on the other team's information. Bai Xiaowen listened for a while and was too lazy to pay attention to them. What do you mean by the strength of the entrance to the spatial rift? Li Shi, who was sitting in the car, asked in a low voice. When Bai Xiaowen was doing something, he would always read a lot of information and be well prepared. He had done his homework on this trip to the special treasure land, so he explained to Li Shi. Treasure lands were divided into levels according to the density of the spiritual particles. Level 1 was the lowest and level 10 was the highest. For example, the treasure land in the Rift Valley of Broken Ridge Mountain was a level 6 treasure land. To enter the treasure land, one needed to pass through the spatial rift. There was no need to return as long as the treasure land wasn't completely sealed. The energy strength of the spatial rift determined the strength of the individual who could pass through. As for the entrance to a treasure land, that is, the spatial crack, it was cyclical. Under normal circumstances, it would only open once a year for a dozen or so days. The energy intensity of the spatial crack would gradually increase and then weaken. A standard level 1 strength could accommodate a level 1 hunter. A standard level 2 corresponded to a level 2 hunter, and so on. The energy strength of the spatial rift at the Treasureland's entrance would gradually increase to a level that matched the Treasureland's level. This was also the peak. Then, the energy strength of the spatial rift would slowly decline. The Treasureland in the Rift Valley of Broken Ridge Mountain was a level 6 Treasureland. It meant that the energy strength of the spatial rift would reach the standard level 6 at most, allowing a level 6 hunter to enter. The students of major universities who signed up for the level 6 Treasureland were basically intermediate hunters, level 4 to 6, so they still needed to wait for a day or two. Chapter 211. Yan Xiaoxin chatted with the teachers for a while before they left. After the chat, Yan Xiaoxin returned to the car. The teachers who just chatted with us are from the other 4 universities in Jianghai, except for Jiangnan University, Yan Xiaoxin said. Old Zhang from Jingling University looks humble, but from what he said, it seems like he's determined to qualify for this year's league. Jingling University has a hero called Jiang Yi. Guan Zhongliu nodded slightly. He's been hiding it all this time, waiting for us to be caught off guard. After all, there were only 2 places to qualify, and Jiangnan University's position was unshakable. Jingling University was also in Jianghai, so it was reasonable for them to set their sights on Jinghai University. I hope to see him this time, Bai Xiaowen said with a smile. As long as he saw Jiang Yi in person, all his secrets would be exposed. Let's not talk about him. This time, the Treasureland of Broken Back Mountain will open. In a few hours, the energy intensity of the spatial rift will reach level 3. At that time, you freshmen and a few level 3 students from other universities will go in. You all have the topographic map of the Treasureland, right? Yan Xiaoxin asked again. Yes, I've seen it. Bai Xiaowen's seen meant that he had memorized it. Li Shi, you should also prepare a map, Yan Xiaoxin said. I brought one. But I'm with Xiaowen. I don't think it's necessary, Li Shi said. Yan Xiaoxin shook her head. It's useless. You won't appear in the same area. Do you think the spatial rift is the school gate? There will be spatial dislocations when traveling through space. It's usually the case when returning from the spirit realm. The Treasureland is a fragment of the spirit realm, so it's not very stable. Spatial dislocations are even more serious. Guan Zhongliu added, even if you enter one after the other, one of you may be assigned to the southernmost part of the space, and the other to the northernmost part. So be prepared to fight alone. Fortunately, you can retreat at any time if you encounter danger. On the other hand, you are not allowed to use electronic communication devices in the treasure trove. Apart from some special spiritual tools, you can only communicate by shouting, Yan Xiaoxin said. Bai Xiaowen said, then let's set a rendezvous point. After entering the space, we'll head there. The Rift Valley of the Broken Ridge Mountain is a treasured land with a depth of about 150 kilometers. It will take at most 1 or 2 days to complete the gathering. Yan Xiaoxin said, if you're confident in your strength, it's best to set the gathering point at the center of the treasure land. In the Great Rift Valley's Broken Dragon Cliff, there's a precious dragon blood tea tree. It's a good thing that even high-level hunters covet. After a short pause, Yan Xiaoxin explained, there are many dangerous areas in the Great Rift Valley. Generally speaking, the closer you are to the central area, the higher level and stronger the monsters. For example, the dragon blood tea tree on Broken Dragon Cliff was occupied by a group of level 6 golden-crowned white eagles all year round. Even for a high-level hunter, encountering such a flying monster is quite troublesome. What do you think, Shi? Bai Xiaowen asked. Let's set the rendezvous point at Broken Dragon Cliff. Li Shi knew that Bai Xiaowen wouldn't have a problem. She also didn't want to be a burden. Besides, with her rare elite class strength, if she was careful, she might be able to reach Broken Dragon Cliff. Okay, then it's settled. Bai Xiaowen closed her eyes and rested. Li Shi took out the information booklet that was previously distributed and read some information about the treasure land of the Broken Ridge Mountains' Great Rift Valley. The empty stone ground was quiet. All the students were reviewing materials or resting with their eyes closed. Each university took turns to send students to monitor the changes in the energy intensity of the space rift in the Great Rift Valley. 3 hours later, a student from Jinghai University rushed back and reported that the energy intensity of the space rift had just reached level 3. Bai Xiaowen and Li Shi, as well as Xiang Hui, Chen Guowei, Feng Xiang, and the others in the car behind them, got out of the car and walked towards the space rift. A few level 3 hunters from other universities also set off at the same time. According to the energy intensity increase of the space rift, it would take at least 6 to 8 hours to reach level 4. It would take at least 24 hours to reach the maximum value of level 6. This half a day to a day's time was the advantage of the beginner hunters. Be careful. Retreat when you encounter danger that you can't resist. Yan Xiaoxin repeatedly reminded the members of Jinghai University's team as they sent Bai Xiaowen and the others to the space rift. The other team members, including Lu Fei, sent their blessings to Bai Xiaowen and the others regardless of whether they were willing or not. Only the team leader, Zhao Yuding, remained expressionless and silent. "Don't worry," Bai Xiaowen smiled and waved at Yan Xiaoxin and the others, then stepped into the space rift first. With a flash of light, Bai Xiaowen's figure disappeared. After a slight feeling of weightlessness, the surrounding white scenery regained its color and froze. A wilderness appeared in front of Bai Xiaowen's eyes. Under the blue sky and white clouds, there were rolling mountains in the distance. In the wilderness, sparse short trees could be vaguely seen. From the map, this should be the Giant Beast Wilderness, located at the northern end of the Great Rift Valley's treasure space. Bai Xiaowen looked around. He wasn't used to being alone. He raised his hand to summon the Wrath Claw, sat on the Wrath Claw's broad back, and pointed in a direction. The Wrath Claw's 4 claws stirred up the wind as it quietly galloped in the wilderness. Along the way, Bai Xiaowen also encountered sporadic wandering mutated dogs, mutated wolves, and other beasts. Most of them were relatively weak. They felt the Wrath Claw's aura and avoided it. Bai Xiaowen didn't have the intention to chase these low-level beasts. It was just a waste of time for him. After running for more than 10 kilometers in one breath, Bai Xiaowen had reached the depths of the Giant Beast Wilderness. Suddenly, the Wrath Claw stopped. Its claws lightly scratched the ground, its body lowered, and the gray hair on its back stood up. Tap, tap, the sound of heavy footsteps could be heard from afar. Bai Xiaowen looked over and was slightly surprised. A huge rhinoceros beast with a body length of 6 to 7 meters with slightly red eyes was slowly approaching. Just the horn on its nose alone was close to a meter long. It was frightening. It really is the Giant Beast Wilderness. Such a huge mutated beast can't even fit in the storage space, Bai Xiaowen mumbled. Bai Xiaowen used insight and quickly obtained the huge rhinoceros beast's information. Thick-back rhinoceros, elite level 5, race, wild beast/terrestrial beast, attributes, strength 33, agility 8, vitality 25, spirit 5, skills, raging charge, penetration, thick hide. I just arrived and I already encountered an elite monster. My luck is not bad. Bai Xiaowen jumped down from the Wrath Claw's back and used the Black Soul Stone skill, Return of the Dead. At the same time, he took out the Desert Eagle and shot at the thick-back rhinoceros. This big guy only had 8 agility. With such a huge body, there was no way it could dodge. Bang, the first shot hit. 100% critical hit rate and 250% critical damage, but it only took 30 HP from the thick-back rhinoceros. The thick-back rhinoceros's passive skill, Thick Hide, had undoubtedly played a huge role. It could reduce 30% physical damage, non-lethal. The thick-back rhinoceros roared in pain and dug its front hooves into the ground. White smoke came out of its nostrils. Raging charge. Bai Xiaowen had already started moving when the thick-back rhinoceros charged. Insight showed that once Raging Charge was activated, it would be a straight path. It would not be able to turn. This was also related to the thick-back rhinoceros's 8 agility. Boom! The thick-back rhinoceros missed and charged dozens of meters away. After Bai Xiaowen dodged the charge, he raised his pistol and fired continuously. The skeleton mage's first lightning throw was also in the process of charging. The thick-back rhinoceros spread its hind hooves and plowed 2 deep trenches in the ground. Only then did it manage to stop. It turned its head and ran quickly. Its target was still Bai Xiaowen. Bai Xiaowen retreated and fired at the same time. He originally thought that with his 15 agility, he could kite this big guy to death without losing any damage. However, the reality of the situation exceeded his expectations. The thick-back rhinoceros was too big. Its 4 legs were as thick and long as pillars. Each step it took was equivalent to Bai Xiaowen taking 3 steps. Although it was relatively slow, its speed was very fast. Moreover, Bai Xiaowen was retreating to increase the distance between them. Of course, his retreating speed could not compare to his forward speed. After firing a few shots, Bai Xiaowen was caught up by the thick-back rhinoceros. The big guy lowered its head and with a flash of light, it rammed into Bai Xiaowen's abdomen. Spiritual realm prompt, thick-back rhinoceros's skill, penetration activated. When the thick-back rhinoceros lowered its head, Bai Xiaowen had already ordered the skeleton mage to use lightning throw. The thick-back rhinoceros's body stiffened. The penetration skill was forcibly interrupted. Interrupting a skill like this was quite difficult. First of all, the thick-back rhinoceros's penetration was very fast. It took less than half a second to charge. On the other hand, the skeleton mage's lightning throw required 1.5 seconds of channeling time. It also had to take into account the speed of the lightning's flight. How many variables had to be considered and how many complicated calculations had to be made to strictly control the speed of the lightning within 0.5 seconds of the thick-back rhinoceros's skill being activated? However, this kind of calculation was only an instinct for Bai Xiaowen's super brain. Especially when he was only controlling one skeleton mage. There were no other summon creatures to share the calculation power. After the thick-back rhinoceros's 2 most threatening skills missed, the skeleton sword shieldbearers, shadow assassins, wrathclaw, and other close combat creatures swarmed forward. The thick-back rhinoceros's strength was very high. Every time it raised its hooves, stomped, and headbutt, the damage it dealt was considerable. Against such a huge monster, the skeleton sword shieldbearer's blocking abilities were also very difficult to fully utilize. They would be sent flying every time they came into contact. Fortunately, there were 4 skeleton sword shieldbearers. They took turns to attack. When one was sent flying, the other 3 were on standby. Bai Xiaowen and the group of close combat creatures besieged the thick-back rhinoceros. Even though the thick-back rhinoceros had the damage reduction effect of thick skin, it could not withstand the attacks. Wounds appeared on its body, and its HP slowly decreased. After fighting for close to a minute, the thick-back rhinoceros's HP finally hit rock bottom. Its huge body fell to the ground with a plop. Bai Xiaowen heaved a sigh of relief. On average, the skeleton sword shieldbearers each enjoyed 2 flying bones. Flying bones? His HP had dropped by nearly half. This kind of elite-grade monster with high strength and constitution was indeed not easy to deal with. The Wrathclaw's ultimate skill, Suppress, could only knock down targets smaller than itself. The thick-back rhinoceros's body was 4 to 5 times the size of the Wrathclaw. It was impossible for it to succeed. It could only cause 5 bleeding attacks with 50% damage. Moreover, Suppress, which had a cooldown of nearly 8 hours, could not be used on an elite-grade monster casually. A silver treasure chest slowly condensed on the thick-back rhinoceros's body. It was a C-rank combat evaluation. Bai Xiaowen chose to draw and received 500 soul energy points. The card flipped, and a piece of equipment with a blue glow appeared in front of Bai Xiaowen. Rhinoceros's strength, bound after pickup, grade, elite, blue, equipment position, waist, equipment requirements, base strength 15, Base Constitution 15, Attribute, Strength +2, Durability Description. The residual heat of this thick leather belt seems to let you feel the wild strength of the rhinoceros. TSK, TSK. It's the first treasure chest to drop equipment. It's a good sign. Bai Xiaowen chose to equip the belt. A warm current flowed through his body. Bai Xiaowen's strength increased by 2 points, reaching 18 points. His current strength attribute was not any weaker than a melee-type metahuman of the same level. With Bai Xiaowen's level 5 advanced fighting skill, it would not be a problem for him to act as a melee attacker. In fact, this equipment was more suitable for a warrior like Li Shi. High strength meant high attack. However, Li Shi was not by her side and did not have the right to distribute the equipment. She could not meet the 15 strength and constitution requirements of this equipment. However, Bai Xiaowen was more interested in the thick-back rhinoceros's corpse. This place was different from the spirit world. After killing monsters, they could plunder materials and precious meat without restraint. The rewards were even better. Bai Xiaowen commanded the shadow assassins and the skeleton swordsmen to work together. After working for more than 10 minutes, they first peeled off the thick skin of the thick-back rhinoceros and rolled it up to put it in their storage space. This thick-back rhinoceros's body did not produce any precious meat. However, Bai Xiaowen, who had been drooling for a long time, still chose the best and most tender parts. He cut off more than 10 kilograms of meat, skewered it with branches, and barbecued it. His mouth was covered in oil. Metahumans' bodies were different from ordinary people. They would not feel bloated even if they ate dozens of kilograms of meat. If they did not eat for a few days, they would feel hungry, but it would not affect their movements. Of course, when they lived in the base city, most metahumans ate 3 meals a day on time. This was a habit that was good for their health. The rhinoceros meat I made is naturally barbecued. Compared to Yijiqing's food, the taste is a little bland, but the texture is fresh and tender. The texture is not bad. Bai Xiaowen rubbed his belly and savored the aftertaste. Chapter 212. In the giant beast wilderness, there were very few wild beasts, and even fewer would take the initiative to attack. Of course, those that took the initiative to attack were all mutated beasts that were confident in their strength and had violent temperaments. Bai Xiaowen walked for more than an hour. After more than 10 kilometers, he only encountered 2 thick-backed rhinoceroses, both of which were elites. Furthermore, they did not have any intention of attacking and avoided him from afar. With their thick and long thighs, it was very difficult for Bai Xiaowen to catch up to them. That's strange. I clearly put away the other summon creatures. Why are these monsters still so timid? They don't even dare to take the initiative to attack. Bai Xiaowen, who was riding on the back of the Wrath Claw, felt a little strange. However, he did not care and continued to advance toward the broken dragon cliff in the center of the treasure land. After walking for a while, the ground in front of him suddenly trembled slightly. Gradually, the tremors became more and more intense, as if many large monsters were walking in groups. Could this be the overlord group of the giant beast wilderness mentioned in the information? Bai Xiaowen put away the Wrath Claw, hid under a short tree, and crouched down. His figure was concealed by the lush weeds around him. Thud, thud, many messy and heavy footsteps could be heard. The earth trembled, and a herd of elephants appeared in the distance. They strolled leisurely across the wilderness in front of Bai Xiaowen. There were more than 10 long-haired elephants in this herd, including 2 calves. However, even the calves were bigger than the Wrath Claw. The other adult elephants were even larger than the thick-backed rhinoceroses. Their bathtub-like hooves would cause a slight tremor every time they landed. The elephant in the lead was as tall as a 3-story building. It looked like a lofty mountain from afar. Bai Xiaowen was alarmed. He did not need to use insight. He could roughly guess the strength of this herd from the weak perception of his psionic power force field. The weakest calf was an elite. Adult elephants, as long as they were not sick or weak, were all at the commander tier. And the leading giant elephant was definitely a horde leader. Fortunately, there was a warning in the information, so I hid in advance. Although this giant beast wilderness is in the periphery of the Great Rift Valley, due to the existence of this mammoth herd, the level of danger is not lower than the depths of the Rift Valley. Bai Xiaowen also understood why the thick-backed rhinoceros was so timid. Living in the territory of such a group of giants, if they didn't behave, they wouldn't live long. Bai Xiaowen waited quietly for the herd of elephants to pass by. He had no intention of attacking the herd of elephants. That would be courting death. Bai Xiaowen heaved a sigh of relief after the herd had gone far away. He circled around in the opposite direction of the herd until he was far enough away from the herd before he continued to move forward. After leaving the territory of the elephant herd, along the way, Bai Xiaowen was attacked by a few wild wolves. In the process of killing them, he even attracted a mutated golden-scaled leopard that was spying in the dark. The Great Plains wolf was a normal monster, while the golden-scaled leopard was an elite monster. However, its level was not high. It was only at level 4, so it was quickly lured out by Bai Xiaowen. He summoned a herd of creatures to surround it and beat it to death. After the golden-scaled leopard died, it didn't drop a treasure chest. It only gave 400 psionic points. Bai Xiaowen found a piece of treasured meat from the corpse of the golden-scaled leopard. After eating it, it didn't increase his attributes. Instead, it gave him a temporary strengthening status of agility +3 that lasted for 4 hours. It was not bad. The strengthening status given by the treasured meat couldn't be stacked. Within 4 hours, eating the treasured meat wouldn't give him any new strengthening buffs unless he replaced the old buffs. Other than that, there were also some psionic herbs growing in the giant beast wilderness. Bai Xiaowen picked all of them. Calculating the time, it's been 6 or 7 hours. The energy intensity of the spatial rift should have reached level 4. A new batch of awakened ones has already entered. Bai Xiaowen gradually walked to the end of the giant beast wilderness. On the horizon in front of him, there were a few mountains of different heights. They looked like the fingers of a giant. Mount Wuji. Bai Xiaowen flipped through the map of the treasure space in his mind. He finally determined his specific location. According to the information, there is a lotus pond under Mount Wuji. I can pick green lotus seeds. This is an indispensable item for awakened ones. Bai Xiaowen sped up. Even though Mount Wuji was not far away, it took Bai Xiaowen nearly an hour to reach the foot of the mountain. Then, it took Bai Xiaowen more than half an hour to find a water source. Following the flow of the water, he found the lotus pond. Beside the lotus pond stood 2 awakened ones and the corpse of a blue and white python. The smell of blood quietly spread. Bai Xiaowen glanced at the 2 awakened ones and found that he didn't know them. They weren't from Jinghai University. Bai Xiaowen? Unexpectedly, the 2 of them recognized Bai Xiaowen. But thinking about it, Bai Xiaowen's fame on Earth was now C-class. He even reached B-class. What's more, he was the new captain of Jinghai University's team. He was also a hero. The students of other universities in Jianhai district must have his information. Bai Xiaowen smiled and nodded slightly. How should I address you two? Which university are you from? My name is Jose. He is Wang Kai. We are both from Tongjiang University. One of the tall and thin boys said. There was a trace of hostility in the tall and thin boy's expression. He said, "We came first. We even killed a blue python. You came and picked up a ready-made one. It's easy." Bai Xiaowen smiled. The rules of this treasure space don't follow first come first serve. It's better to come at the right time than early. It's just a blue python. Even without you, do you think I can't deal with it? Wang Kai pulled Jose and showed a helpless expression. He said to Bai Xiaowen, "Who told you to be a hero? You can pick it first. I hope you can leave some for the 2 of us." Bai Xiaowen looked at the lotus pond. The water was turbid. Between the lotus leaves, the lotus heads swayed with the wind. They seemed to be nodding their heads in greeting. The lotus pond wasn't big. There were only 7 or 8 lotus heads. Bai Xiaowen raised his hand and summoned all of his creatures. Zhou Zhe and Wang Kai suddenly became nervous. Wang Kai said, "What are you doing? Do you need to go to this extent to pick a few lotus heads? Do you two think I'm easy to fool?" Bai Xiaowen smiled. "There are mutated black fishes in this lotus pond. The water is their home ground. If I go into the water myself, I will definitely be attacked by the mutated fishes. I will attract their attention, so you can easily pick the lotus seeds." Chapter 213. The water in the lotus pond on Mount Wuji was turbid. Occasionally, there would be a slight ripple. It looked like it was caused by the wind, but in fact, it was the mutated black fish swimming slowly at the bottom of the pond. These mutated black fish were aquatic beasts. They were usually lazy and did not move much. However, when someone invaded their territory, they would immediately become furious and attack recklessly. This was also a common characteristic of many mutated beasts in the Psionic era. The water was the home ground of the mutated black fish. The combat strength of the awakened ones would be reduced. This did not mean that the awakened ones could not go into the water. The awakened ones all had a psionic force field. After going into the water, they could choose to activate their psionic force field to force away the water around their body. It was like the legendary effect of the water-repellent pearl. However, they still needed to come up to the surface to breathe every once in a while. Every move in the water was very difficult. After all, it was not as good as being on land. After Bai Xiaowen exposed Wang Kai's thoughts, he did not need to say anything more to them. He directly ordered his summoned creatures to go into the water. Bai Xiaowen himself sat cross-legged by the pond. He switched to the perspective of his summoned creatures and fought remotely. Bai Xiaowen seemed to be arrogant, but in fact, he was still wary of Zhou Zhe and Wang Kai. The shadow assassin had been hiding at the side, guarding against Zhou Zhe and Wang Kai. On the surface, Bai Xiaowen was alone and unguarded. Zhou Zhe and Wang Kai were a little tempted when they saw this scene. The two took a few steps back and lowered their voices to discuss in a low voice. "Should we attack?" Wang Kai asked. "If we delay any longer, he will snatch all the green lotus seeds." "Don't worry. His summoned creatures may not be as powerful as the black fish in the water," Zhou Zhe whispered. "Even if we attack, we have to wait until his summoned creatures are entangled by the strange fish at the bottom of the pond. When that time comes, a lone summoner, even a hero class, is no match for us." "Okay, we'll do as you say." "It must be quite an achievement to drive out such a hero class," Wang Kai said. The two of them did not feel any pressure to attack Bai Xiaowen. The exploration of this kind of treasure land was based on one's own ability. Those who were strong would be able to obtain treasures, while those who were weak would be kicked out of the treasure land and could only sigh that they were not as strong as others. Both of them knew that people who specialized in mental strength were good at sensing and eavesdropping, so they stood a little further away and whispered so that Bai Xiaowen wouldn't hear them. However, Bai Xiaowen could guess what the two of them were thinking. Bai Xiaowen did not take the initiative to attack them, mainly because he was the captain of Jinghai University's team, while the two were just ordinary students of Tongjiang University. If he directly cleared the venue, he would definitely be labeled as a bully, arrogant, and domineering, which would be very detrimental to the reputation of Jinghai University and himself. It didn't matter as long as he induced the two of them to attack first. This kind of behavior was like fishing. Those who were willing to take the bait. After the skeleton swordsman, the skeleton mage, and the wrath claw entered the water, a thin layer of spirit energy force field also appeared on the surface of their bodies, blocking the water flow outside. The 5 summoned creatures stepped on the 1-foot-thick mud at the bottom of the pool and walked forward step by step. Suddenly, the water rippled, and a pitch-black mutated black fish with a mouth full of fangs jumped out and rammed into the skeleton swordsman. The skeleton swordsman raised its shield to block. Its body trembled slightly as it skillfully blocked the mutated black fish's charge and swung its sword at it. The mutated blackfish swung its tail and nimbly dodged the attack. The slash only hit the water flow. Bang! The mutated blackfish's tail hit the skeleton swordsman's chest with great force. Another 5 or 6 mutated blackfish swam toward them from afar. The summoned creatures were caught in a fight. Even the Wrathclaw was not used to moving in the water. It swung its claws wildly, but it could not hit the unusually nimble mutated blackfish at all. Beside the pool, Jose and Wang Kai saw the waves rolling and the black mud flying in the air. They knew that Bai Xiaowen's summoned creatures had encountered the mutated blackfish and were being held back. "I'm sorry, Bai Xiaowen, please leave the treasure zone of the Great Rift Valley." Wang Kai suddenly took out his crossbow and fired an arrow at Bai Xiaowen. Bai Xiaowen tilted his head and dodged the arrow. He smiled. "You finally can't hold it in anymore? Humph, don't act like you're so confident. It's infuriating." Jose took out his weapon. It was a long and narrow katana with a sheath. He grabbed the hilt of the katana with his right hand and assumed the posture of drawing the katana. He quickly charged at Bai Xiaowen. Bai Xiaowen stood up and dodged Wang Kai's second arrow. "I'm afraid you're not very good at shooting. Your aim is a little off." Bang! The arrow exploded. A strong light flashed and lit up the area around Bai Xiaowen. The shadow assassin's figure was revealed. Wang Kai smiled proudly. "Do you think I'm attacking you?" "No, I'm going to use flare." "It's no secret that you have an invisible summoned creature of the soul race." Jose rushed to Bai Xiaowen's side and shouted loudly. He unsheathed his katana and drew a sharp arc, katana slash. Do I have to shout the name of the skill?" Bai Xiaowen laughed and complained. The shadow assassin took a step forward and used its body to block the slash for Bai Xiaowen. Your summoned creature, the shadow assassin, received 23 damage. Jose's expression changed as if he had seen a ghost. In fact, he really did see a ghost. What's going on? My katana slash only dealt around 20 damage to a summoned creature? It was an indisputable fact that summoned creatures were weaker than awakened creatures of the same level. Jose's katana slash was his main combat skill. Even if it hit a level 3 tank-type elite class, it could still deal 30 plus physical damage. But this time, he couldn't understand what was going on. The shadow assassin ignored Jose and charged straight at Wang Kai, who was not far away. What's going on? Are you looking down on me? Jose felt a sense of humiliation. Even if it was a hero class, it should not look down on others like this. He snorted angrily, gripped his katana tightly with both hands, and slashed horizontally. He used the combat skill, Bloody Cross Slash. However, just as the Bloody Cross Slash was halfway through, Jose's body stiffened. A notification came from the spirit world. Bai Xiaowen used the 2-star mutated skill, Deterrence, on you. The enemy's mental strength is 31/7. You will fall into a state of fear for 9 seconds. Jose was shocked and furious. How could the state of fear last for 9 seconds? He immediately chanted, "Use the item, Green Lotus Seed, to remove the control." However, the next notification from the spirit world mercilessly shattered his fantasy. You have used a special item, Green Lotus Seed, Mature. The basic priority of your standard profession is 2, the additional priority of Green Lotus Seed, Mature, is 3, and the overall priority is 5. Failed to remove control. When Bai Xiaowen was observing earlier, he found 3 or 4 bare lotus stalks, which confirmed what Wang Kai said. Although Jose was not very strong, his equipment was not bad. His shoes had an active skill, Leap, so they should be gold equipment. However, the skills that came with equipment were different from combat skills. They had extremely long cooldowns. This was also the reason why the duo had been waiting by the lotus pond for a long time. They were waiting for the shoe's active skill to cool down, so they could pick another round of fruits. To their surprise, they bumped into Bai Xiaowen. "All right then. Give me the lotus seeds, and I'll let you go this time." Bai Xiaowen decided to be a good guy for once. Wang Kai helplessly initiated the trade. The rules of the spirit realm prompted him. "You have obtained green lotus seed, mature, x2, green lotus seed, immature, x4. Bai Xiaowen took a look. It was his first time seeing a special food item that grew automatically in a treasure trove. Green lotus seed was a food that could remove status effects, just like food that could restore health and mental strength. It could only be used once in a battle. However, it did not conflict with the skill that came with the equipment, Eclipse Ruler's Badge, so it was very useful for Bai Xiaowen. Mature green lotus seeds had an additional 3 priority to dispel control effects. Including Bai Xiaowen's basic priority of 4, it could dispel control effects below level 7. It was even more powerful than the dispelling skill, Solar Eclipse, that came with the badge. As for the immature green lotus seed, it only had a priority of 1. After Wang Kai left, Bai Xiaowen no longer had anything to worry about. He ordered the shadow assassin to dive into the water. Even though he did not have Zhou Zei's leap, which allowed him to pluck the green lotus seed in the air, Bai Xiaowen had a simpler and more violent way to deal with the green lotus seed. Bai Xiaowen used the tactic of splitting the group of mutated black fishes to attack them. The skeleton swordsman aimed at one target and used shield bash at the same time. No matter how agile the unfortunate mutated black fish was, it was unable to dodge the 4 skills at the same time. It was hit by 2 of the shields. Following it, Bai Xiaowen fired a bullet at the water, dealing 250% damage. At the same time, the shadow assassin sneaked over and assassinated the mutated black fish. After killing the first mutated black fish, the wrath claw swam to the shore with its mouth. It tossed the carcass under Bai Xiaowen's feet and shook its fur before diving back into the water. Bai Xiaowen waited for the skeleton swordsman's shield bash to cool down. He repeated the same thing and killed the second mutated black fish, then the third, the fourth. When the last mutated black fish saw its own kind being killed, it realized that the enemy in front of it was not to be trifled with. It swayed its tail and swam away. Bai Xiaowen did not hesitate. He ordered the summon creatures to push forward. When they reached the first lotus, the shadow assassin cut the stem in half and tossed the lotus to the shore. Bai Xiaowen peeled the lotus and found a mature green lotus seed and 5 immature green lotus seeds. Suddenly, the surface of the lotus pond rippled. Bai Xiaowen suddenly lost contact with a skeleton swordsman. He then received a notification from the spiritual realm. The fish leader's spiny fins has activated Devour. Evaluating the skill, size ratio, 3:1. Overall stats, 2, 306, 1. Devour successful. Your skeleton swordsman has been devoured. It receives 37 acid damage per second. Bai Xiaowen was shocked. A level 6 treasure land should not be underestimated. There was actually a commander tier monster hiding in this small lotus pond. The water was its home ground, making it even more difficult to deal with. Through the shared vision of the other summoned creatures, Bai Xiaowen could see a slender mutated black fish 3 times the size of the other mutated black fish. It swayed its tail and slammed into the wrath claw, which was the strongest of the mutated black fish. The wrath claw had 20 strength, but it was still pushed back by the fish leader's spiny fins. This meant that the fish leader's spiny fins had at least 20 strength. Bai Xiaowen immediately ordered the summoned creatures to retreat. The mutated black fish leader named Spiny Fins seemed to be satisfied after pushing back the wrath claw and forcing back Bai Xiaowen's summoned creature, Invader. It swam a few meters and swayed its tail, intending to return. However, the wrath claw had no intention of letting the mutated black fish leader go. It slashed out with its claw. Laceration. With a tearing sound, a light bleeding effect appeared on the mutated black fish leader's spiny fins. Although the injury was not serious, the spiny fins was enraged. It slammed its tail hard and sent the wrath claw flying a foot out of the water before crashing back into the water. The wrath claw continued to retreat. Chapter 215. Who asked you to mess around and have fun? I'll make you do the list later. Bai Xiaowen was furious that another skeleton swordsman had been swallowed. He controlled his summoned creatures to retreat, but they were obviously slower than the spiny fins in the water. The spiny fins knocked them left and right, and their tails kept flapping, showing off their might. Seeing that they were about to reach the edge of the pool, the spiny fins seemed to feel that something was wrong. They turned their tails and prepared to swim away. Chi! The shadow assassin used a combination of stealth and assassination to hit the spiny fins in the stomach, dealing 49 points of damage. The spiny fins was furious. At the same time, the second skeleton swordsman that it had swallowed had been corroded to death by the acid. The spiny fins engulf skill was on cooldown again. Its eyes carried a hint of human-like anger. It opened its mouth and suddenly pounced, preparing to swallow the shadow assassin as well. However, it missed. Bai Xiaowen pulled the shadow assassin from behind and pulled it to the shore. The spiny fin's momentum was too strong, and it was about to dive into the mud of the shallow water. It wanted to stop, but two strong forces came from behind. Bang! Bang! The two skeleton swordsmen used the shield bash skill at the same time, adding fuel to the fire behind the spiny fins, making the spiny fins' momentum even stronger. Just as the spiny fins was trying to stabilize itself, the wrath claw had already dived under its belly. It kicked hard with its forelegs and headbutted the spiny fin's belly. Splash! The spiny fin's 2 to 3 meters long body flew out of the water, and with an unstoppable momentum, it dived to the shore. The spiny fin's tail flapped wildly, and it tried to jump back into the water again and again. However, Bai Xiaowen had used the exquisite coordination of his summoned creatures to get the spiny fins ashore. How could he let it go again? With deterrence, the spiny fin's body stiffened, and it could not jump anymore. Bai Xiaowen used insight. Spiny fins, boss level 4, /challenge rating, 9, race, wild beast / aquatic beast, attributes, strength 20, agility 22, constitution 37, spirit 4, skills, devour, sweeping strike, slippery scales. It was worth mentioning that the first two skills of the spiny fins, engulf, and sweep, were grayed out. Obviously, this had something to do with the environment it was in. It could only use these two skills underwater. 37 points of constitution was indeed very powerful. The third skill, slippery scales, had two effects. The first was to passively reduce physical damage. The second was to automatically restore 3% of the maximum HP every second in an aquatic environment. Just this skill alone was enough to show how difficult it was to deal with this big guy in the water. The Wrath Claw, the two skeleton sword shield bearers, the shadow assassin, and other summoned creatures all went ashore and surrounded the spiny fins. They raised their swords and sharp claws and teeth and began to chop the fish. At the same time, Bai Xiaowen also controlled the summoned creatures to push Thorny Fin away from the edge of the pool, not giving it a chance to return to the water. The spiny fins desperately tried to counterattack. Unfortunately, it was of little use as its HP was slowly whittled away. After nearly 10 minutes of beating, Bai Xiaowen finally killed the fish. He breathed a sigh of relief. This fish was obviously a boss with high constitution. It had thick skin and was resistant to attacks. The main damage dealer, Li Shui, was not by his side. That was why the fight was so slow. Even though the spiny fins could not use skills, normal tail slaps and vibrations were enough to injure the summoned creatures and reduce their HP by a lot. A golden treasure chest appeared on the corpse of the spiny fins. Bai Xiaowen opened the treasure chest and was notified that he had received 4,000 psionic points. Combat evaluation, B. You've received 2 draw chances that won't be empty. There were a total of 10 golden cards. Bai Xiaowen chose the first and last card. You have received equipment, fishbone harpoon. You have received special item, huge fish bladder. The fishbone harpoon was a long weapon that could be picked up and bound to the user. Its initial attack was higher than the +4 Desert Eagle. Unfortunately, This weapon required 10 points of basic strength and 20 points of basic agility to equip. Bai Xiaowen's agility was still far from enough. In addition, Bai Xiaowen did not have the mechanical specialty of long weapons. Even if he equipped it, he would not be able to unleash its full power. It was a pity, but even if he disassembled it, he could still earn a few thousand psionic points. It was not a loss. What really interested Bai Xiaowen was the huge fish bladder. Huge fish bladder, special item. After use, you can breathe underwater and increase your swimming speed by 30%. Lasts for 6 hours. After each use, you need to fill the bladder with fresh air, inflation time, 10 minutes, before you can use it again. This item is not a one-time use item. It can be used repeatedly. It's very powerful. Moreover, the effect of breathing underwater and increasing swimming speed is very useful in certain special environments. Bai Xiaowen tested it first. He walked to the edge of the lotus pond and jumped in. At the same time, he chose to use the huge fish bladder. A layer of membrane covered his head, and it looked like he was wearing a huge bubble helmet. Bai Xiaowen was a little dumbfounded. From the perspective of the summoned creatures, he looked a little like a strange fat-head fish. He could indeed breathe underwater, but was this huge bubble helmet not affecting his swimming speed? The larger the volume, the greater the resistance of the water flow. Bai Xiaowen tried to paddle with his hands, and an accident happened again. He felt that the speed at which he was paddling forward was unexpectedly fast. He really did look like a fat-head fish. The membrane of the swim bladder helmet seemed to have some kind of intelligence. When the water flow met it, it automatically parted, reducing the resistance. Not bad at all. Bai Xiaowen chuckled and led a group of summoned creatures to harvest the lotus pods. The leader of the fish group, the spiny fins, had been killed. The remaining mutated black fishes did not dare to move forward. They allowed Bai Xiaowen and the others to harvest all the lotus pods in the pond. Bai Xiaowen was very particular. None of the budding lotuses were touched. When the next treasure space in the Great Rift Valley opened, these lotuses should be able to bear lotus pods again. He insisted on sustainable development. He could not kill the goose that laid the golden eggs. The key was that the lotuses were useless. After going ashore, Bai Xiaowen counted his harvest. A total of 8 lotus pods were plucked. He had obtained 15 green lotus seeds, mature, and 37 immature ones. Including the compensation given by Wang Kai, there were a total of 17 mature green lotus seeds and 41 immature green lotus seeds. This was not a small fortune. In the market of awakened ones, an immature green lotus seed could be sold for 100 psionic points each. As for a mature green lotus seed, the price would be several times higher. Therefore, the green lotus seeds Bai Xiaowen harvested from the lotus pond were worth tens of thousands of spiritual energy points. Chapter 216. After this battle, the black soul stone had grown to a total of 47 soul essence. Bai Xiaowen cut open the carcass of the spiny fin carcass, but he didn't sense any treasure meat. The spiny fin carcass, on the other hand, was too tough and dry to be eaten, so Bai Xiaowen threw it away. They continued on their journey. After passing through Mount Wuji, they arrived at a vast wasteland. Huge bone fossils of various shapes and sizes were scattered across the wasteland. The smallest fossil was as tall as a few people, while the largest was dozens of meters long. They could vaguely make out the skull of a giant beast, and there were 2 deep holes in its eye sockets. This was Dragon Bone Wasteland. The moment they stepped into the wasteland, they could vaguely feel a stifling feeling coming from the depths of their soul. It was as if they were on a train in another space-time. According to the analysis of the data, this stifling feeling was left behind by the ancient giant dragon that was buried here. It affected all non-dragon life forms. Therefore, only some pseudo-dragons and sub-dragons lived in Dragonbone Wasteland. Other beasts were basically extinct here. The Wrath Claw let out a low whine, and the hair on its back stood up. It was clearly a little uneasy. Bai Xiaowen stroked the Wrath Claw's back. The unique mental connection ability of a spiritualist slowly calmed the Wrathclaw's uneasiness. They walked for several kilometers on the ground of Dragonbone Wasteland, but they didn't see any monsters. Suddenly, Bai Xiaowen's spiritual power sensed something. He quickly activated a spiritual scan and gathered his spiritual power. Like a large net, it slowly swept across an area of 100 meters. "Come out," Bai Xiaowen shouted in a deep voice. The Wrathclaw rushed over and quickly pulled out a person from behind a huge bone fossil. "Wait, Captain, it's me." The person didn't attack. Instead, he slipped out from behind the bone fossil with his hands raised. "Ding Chen?" Bai Xiaowen was slightly puzzled. "Why are you here?" "I was assigned to Dragonbone Wasteland a few hours ago." When Ding Cheng saw Bai Xiaowen, he quickly said with a relieved expression, "Captain, I finally see you. Junior Li Shi and the others are in danger." Bai Xiaowen narrowed his eyes. "What's going on?" "Lead the way, we'll talk as we go." Ding Cheng spoke quickly and explained the situation in a few sentences. Half an hour ago, Li Shi, Han Su, Ding Cheng, and the others happened to run into a member of another university's team behind a hill formed by the bones of a giant dragon in the Dragonbone Wasteland. At the same time, they encountered a small tribe's subspecies species. Ground dragons were a type of draconic beast. Adult draconic beasts were generally elites, and the leaders of small groups were commander-level existences. The two sides hit it off immediately and worked together to kill the subspecies. This kind of temporary cooperation was very common among hunters who wandered in the wilderness, especially when they faced powerful monsters that were difficult to deal with. There was a mature and fair distribution system for the treasure chests dropped after killing the monsters, so there was generally no dispute. The 3 people from Jinghai University and the 4 people from Jiangnan University worked together to kill the subspecies. Soon, only one of them was left, which was the strongest one, the leader of the blood-striped subspecies. However, after the leader of the blood-striped subspecies fell to the ground, the 4 people from Jiangnan University launched a premeditated attack on the 3 people from Jinghai University. Ding Cheng was the weakest of the 3. After a round of attacks, he was left with little HP. He was so scared that he immediately ran away. Even if he stayed to fight, he would only end up being kicked out of the Great Rift Valley. Ding Cheng didn't know what happened after that. He said with a guilty conscience, "Captain, I didn't mean to run away." "It's okay. You didn't do anything wrong." Bai Xiaowen nodded. "How long has it been since you left the battlefield?" "It took us about 20 minutes to fight the subspecies. It should have been 5 or 6 minutes since I left. 10 minutes to go back and forth." Bai Xiaowen frowned slightly. He was a little worried. Li Shi was a typical DPS. She had high attack, low defense, and low HP. If she was given space to attack, she could deal amazing damage. However, if the enemy focused on her, she wouldn't be able to last long. Among the 7 people who killed the leader of the blood-striped subspecies, Li Shi was undoubtedly the one who contributed the most. The 4 people from Jiangnan University would definitely target her. There was no doubt about it. 10 minutes. Li Shi wouldn't be able to last that long. Although there was still Han Su, would he run away like Ding Chen? After all, it was a rare opportunity to enter the treasure land of the Great Rift Valley. If he stayed to protect Li Shi, Han Su would probably be crippled or even kicked out of the treasure land. Han Su was a member of the Guild of Fine Martial Arts. He seemed to have a good relationship with Lu Fei and Xiao Mingxing. Now was not the time to think about this. Bai Xiaowen only hoped that Li Shi wouldn't be too stubborn. If she couldn't hold on, she would leave the Great Rift Valley. Faster, run faster. Following the direction Ding Cheng pointed, Bai Xiaowen patted the Wrathclaw's back and urged it to run faster. The Wrathclaw's 4 claws created wind. It fully utilized its 27 points of agility. Its 4 long legs moved so fast that they almost turned into a blur. Bai Xiaowen heard the whistling of the wind. The scenery on both sides flashed by quickly. The Wrathclaw's high speed was faster than an off-road vehicle at full speed. The price to pay was the rapid depletion of energy. After all, stamina was not the Wrathclaw's strong suit. Soon, a stone mound formed by the fossilized skull of a giant dragon entered by Xiaowen's sight. Behind the stone mound, he could vaguely hear the sound of metal clashing. "We're here. It's not over yet." There were 6 people on the battlefield. 4 of them were undoubtedly members of Jiangnan University. 2 of them were long-range shooters, 1 was a long-range spellcaster, and the last one was an agility-type swordsman with a long sword. The agility-type swordsman had long sleeves that fluttered in the wind. He had an extraordinary aura. Every strike of his sword was aimed at Li Shi from tricky angles. Li Shi only had less than half of his health left. He gritted his teeth and attacked the swordsman. However, every strike of his sword either hit the air or was blocked by his opponent. He did not cause much damage. In the distance, the 2 shooters and the spellcaster attacked Li Shi as their primary target. Beside her, Han Su raised his tower shield and blocked the arrows that were shot from afar. If not for Han Su, Li Shi would not have been able to hold on. "Let's retreat," Han Su said in a low voice. Li Shi bit his lip unwillingly. Suddenly, a long howl of a wolf was heard. Both sides were shocked. They stopped temporarily and looked toward the source of the sound. "You're tuning into the Mythic Realms YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.